If you open yourself up to that and are not so focused on standing on mine, everybody want to stand on, everybody feels like they got something to prove. Like, I don't got to do that. That's everybody's immediate thing nowadays, right? Everybody wants to be respected, praised, and supported, and nobody wants to give respect, praise, or support. This is something I love on people I love with. And I just took it to a platform where we could kind of showcase that to the world. Music for the soul, food for the people. Like, there's few things in the world more disarming and bridge building for relationships and human interaction than breaking bread with someone. And I truly believe that. If we can give you a 90-second clip that makes you want to sit down and make something for people you love, that's why I always end most of my posts with cook for somebody you love. Because the way it talks to people, any good chef, like, I don't have to be a chef to know that. And if you cook for someone you love, then
it's an act of service.
Act of service, absolutely.
The thing that people don't realize is, yes, everything that he's cooking looks super good, but it tastes terrible. That's the thing that he's not telling everybody.
Yeah, that's my secret. That's my secret.
Velina mai kako, welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps it aloha by blaming your Portuguese ancestors after you realize you've been talking stories for way too long. I'm your host, Kamaka, and why do you think these episodes are 2 hours long? Don't blame me, blame my ancestors. We have an awesome guest today who I am pretty sure is also Portuguese. So just a heads up, this might be a pretty long episode. But before we introduce our talented guest, I want to remind you that you only have a few more days to buy your ticket to our first ever live audience podcast on February 18 at Blue Note, Hawaii. Our guest will be the Queen of Talk Story and past podcast guest McKenna Maduli, as well as some surprise performances and appearance by our secret guest as well. So head to BlueNoteHawaii.com right now to get your tickets, and we hope to see you there. Continuing our Hawaiian word of the day for Mahina Olelo Hawaii, I want to teach you one of my favorite new words that I just learned recently, maybe within the last year, hua lono. That is the Hawaiian word for podcast. Velina mai ka hua lono o Keep It Aloha. Welcome to the Keep It Aloha podcast. But that wasn't actually the intro. That was just an example of the word hua lono. I still need to introduce our guest before we officially get started. So let's introduce him. Support for this podcast comes from Texaco in Hawaii, which features 58 convenient locations across the state. Fueling up at Texaco is fast and easy when you use the Texaco mobile app to pay at the pump. The Texaco mobile app is a contactless way to pay for fuel so you can get in and out of the gas station quickly. Fuel your car and fuel yourself. Pick up your favorite local snacks and ice cold drinks at your neighborhood Texaco today. Texaco at Techron, driving performance. Our guest today is a man who does it all from the Big Island of Hawaii. He is a former United States Marine Corps veteran who served 5 tours in Iraq, a hip-hop artist known as K-Love, former master inspector, and a content creator as well. His Instagram, Kealoha's Counter, has gained a lot of recognition over the past year with his creative content of cooking while dancing to good music. This husband and father of 2.5, one on the way, is a solid brother, and I am so stoked to talk stories with him today and learn more about his story. His name is Kealoha Mahone. Aloha, Kealoha. Welcome to the Keep It Aloha podcast. How you doing?
How's it, my bro? How are you?
I'm good. It's super nice to meet you. I've been watching your content for the last couple months, and I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you. It has been a very fun journey that we are learning and figuring out, but most of all, having a really amazing time creating along the way.
Yeah. So I think I reached out to you maybe a couple months ago, maybe some point last year or earlier this year. I don't remember. But basically, I had Maddie Wong on. So shout out to Maddie Wong.
Shout out to Maddie Wong.
Podcast guest. And I think at some point earlier this year, late last year, I was just looking for guests because I'm always just trying to add to my list. And then I kept seeing your stuff. So I asked Maddie about it because I think he might have mentioned you. And I was like, hey, what do you think about this brought over here? And he's like, oh, we go way back.
Way back.
So he's messaging me some stuff. And he's like, yeah, and he can also like rap and do all this. I'm like, what? So he informed me a bunch about all these things. And I'm like, okay.
I have lived a very colorful life. Yeah,
I gotta talk to this. And then when we did our pre-production call, I got to learn more about you. Like, I didn't even know about your military past, and then these other stuff that I learned as I Googled you. So I mean, that's why I say you're a man who does it all, which is funny why you're friends with Maddie, because he's also a man who does it
Right?
all.
Yeah, he gets to it. So
Yeah.
funny story about Maddie, the way we actually like met and like our friendship began was I was actually still in the Marine Corps and I came back home. I'm pretty sure it was a Christmas holiday, but I want to say it was different because there was waves in town, but
Mhm.
could have been. Anyways, we was out at Kaiser's and um he was, maybe barely like outside of the consideration of Grom at that time.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember exactly what happened, but some brada started giving him rash. And like back then he was like small, like he was like maybe 5'8", 5'9", and like real skinny. And some brada started giving him rash. And I just seen this bigger brada giving this little brada rash. And at that time I was a lot bigger because I was still in. And I was like, hey, brah, leave him alone. And we just ended up meeting through this interaction in the water. And then actually the first musical group that I was a band member of was called Lost at Sea.
Mhm.
And I met all those brothers who were the other bandmates. They were already playing together. And then Maddie was like, we somehow got on music and he was like, bro, you got to come check this out. Come down, play Old Tropics in Ward.
Mhm.
Went down there, jam with the boys. Yeah, and the rest is kind of history. We just became friends through that. And then we were did music together for years. And then we actually moved out to LA within like a year of each other.
Oh,
And we
okay.
were
So you-
both living in LA at the same
Wow,
time.
similar
So
paths. That's-
reconnected out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So love that boy, Matty Wong. It's a good brother.
Yeah, shout out to him. Episode, I don't know, 90 something or 100.
What are we on right now?
100. This is gonna be like 113, I think. 112.
Oh,
112,
nice.
yeah. But before we get into everything, I wanna get to know you even more and start at the beginning.
Yes.
Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
So I am from the Big Island. Well, I'm from Big Island and Oahu, but I was born Kealoha, lived Kealoha a little while, and then we moved to the mainland for a little bit, and then when we came back to Oahu, and I was probably I think 7th grade when we came here. We hopped around schools, Mililani School District. We was in Kalihi a little while, Papakolea, because that's where my tutu had her land. And so I made it to 10th grade and I was a decent student. But we had a lot of stuff going on in our life and my mom was under a lot of pressure at the time. And what I realized was there was no college in the cards for me. Like there was like that wasn't happening, and even for me, like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so because I was smart at that time, because I'm pretty old now, what you had to do was to get your GED at that age, because I was 16. So I decided, well, if I join the military, it will get me out of Hawaii. I can see somewhere else and it'll pay for school. And so I went to my parents, talked to them. Basically what happened is I had to go adult schools program to pass this test that showed you could pass more than the GED because I was too young to take it. And then I got to take my GED. And so I took my GED, and then what would have been my junior year of high school, I left for boot camp.
Oh, okay.
So I was
you didn't
17.
have to be 18?
No, I don't know if they changed it, but when I went in, you could sign into the DEP program, which is the delayed entry program,
Oh, okay.
at 16, and then you could leave right at 17. So
Oh.
I left the February after 9/11 happened to go boot camp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What did that motivate? Did 9/11
No, not at all.
motivate? Okay, it's just coincidence.
I was so young. I
Oh, okay.
didn't like it. Like this is how Lolo I was and young minded is like when I went to boot camp, it had already happened, and in my brain, I'm like not even making the connection yet, And I didn't like even like in one of our trainings, at one point they were like, half of you guys raise your hand, blah blah blah. That's about the amount of you that are going to be gone by this time next year, because this is before the first invasion of Fallujah. And that didn't even like sink it for
Gone
me.
as in like
Dead.
death.
Make, yeah.
Oh,
And so in my mind, that still doesn't even sink in for me because I'm so young.
yeah.
And it wasn't even until we were on the ground for OIF-1 and we were pushing from Baghdad into Fallujah. And I just see all the chopper tracer rounds, you know, the A-10s are doing flybys, the guns are all going off, and we're heading towards that from Baghdad, coming from Baghdad. And that was when it clicked for me. It's like, you know, the sun was setting. It was right after the prayer call, which anybody that's been in country knows, like when the prayer call goes, you hear it everywhere. So it's, and it's just, you know, growing up in the West, anybody that's experienced knows, like if you grew up in anywhere in the West, that experience is so rattling the first time you experience it because it doesn't matter. You could have grown up in the worst hood ever in the world here, and it is leagues better than over there, you know? So that first experience, that's when it clicked. It was like that moment. I'll never forget that moment because that was when it was like, oh snap, like this is what I'm doing, you know? Like this isn't, but literally like people always ask me that know me, and it's like, I know a lot of guys that had that. I built that while I was in there, that had that tenacity and that desire to do good for my brothers and exceed. But I didn't have that going in. Like I was just trying to get out of Hawaii and pay for college, you know?
And did you purposefully sign up for the front lines? Like
no, it wasn't purposeful at all. It was literally just like, I remember what it was like. I did pretty good on my ASVAB and I could have done a bunch of other things, but anybody knows that recruiters are kind of shady. And so essentially I saw a poster of a dude all geared up in there and I was like, I want to do that. And he was like, yeah. Come on. You know, easy entry, like get you in here. And then my younger brother signed up with me and left a year after me. So he became he became a Marine. I think it was like a little less than a year right after me.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't, again, it was one of those things where it was just to get out of here. And it wasn't like any like lack of respect for Hawaii, but to touch on the growing up thing. So coming here and my dad's side of the family is Hawaiian. So my tutu is full from Nihau. And we were very close to her. She helped my mom a lot with us, especially when me and my brother were younger. And so a ton of our interaction was with her. And we had this very amazing experience of this amazing, you know, my tutu Jane is such a loving person. Anyone that knows her, you know, she had 13 children of her own. Excuse me. Hana'd a bunch of others. We have all these connected families that she hana'd. My tutu pops, I think, died when she was like 35, never remarried, died at 93, you know, passed away in our home, in my parents' home. All her mo'opuna singing Hawaiian music around her. Whole sky of Makiki cracked open, thunder, nuts, bro.
Wow.
And so I had this experience with this beautiful human telling me who I was in my Kanaka-ness, for lack of a better term. And then as soon as you walk outside her house in Papakalea, stop howling. So it was a very interesting experience because like I felt super connected to Hawaii being Hawaiian, and I felt like it gave me a place, right? It gave me like this wayfinder, if you will, you know, of our people. But then as soon as you step out into the society of 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th graders, what does this experience look like? So, Paule, wow. You know? And that's what it was, you know? Like I don't look poly enough to be poly at that age group, you know? So that was my experience. But the interesting thing that I'll say from that is it never made me bitter. Like I had to scrap plenty. I got into all kinds of stuff because so Paule, you know? But it never made me bitter. Like I say all the time, like so much of what I got through, like everything I got through while I was in the Marine Corps was my ohana, God, and then I felt like I had Hawaii on my back. Like I'm sure a lot of people feel that, but like for me, deeply, personally, in everything I've ever done, from the military is where I felt like it really started onward. I have personally always felt like I got to represent for home. I got to represent for home. They got to see us, you know? And I always felt like that. And it, like, as much of that as I experienced, you know, of the not looking Hawaiian enough, not knowing enough, you know, I'm about to touch 40 next week, right?
Wow.
So I am from the class, if you will, where there was almost zero available to us. There was no immersion school growing up in town. You know what I'm saying? My mom worked full time, you know. Her and my dad were going through stuff. You know, we were moving around all the time. You know, like there was, where was I supposed to get immersed in our culture when, you know, in between the multiple jobs that the family had to work, you know, like my immersion was tutu, you know? And so what I got from her allowed me, it was beautiful enough that it allowed me to hang on to that, you know? Because I've met people that are bitter. They, you know, they're mixed Hawaiians and they're bitter at Hawaiians and they're bitter at our culture and they're bitter at Hawaii. And I'm very grateful that I didn't have that experience, you know?
That's interesting because it's like you had all this culture thrown at you, and then as soon as you, almost like your tutu's like saying, hey, you are Hawaiian enough, you're Kanaka, this is our history. And as soon as you go outside, you just got people saying you are not Hawaiian enough. In one of the most like rooted places on Oahu, you know, like homestead kind of action.
Yeah. But that's where you stick out the most, though.
That is true. Yeah. You stick out like a sore thumb. But at a young age, I'm surprised it didn't affect you, like mentally.
I mean, I'm
like,
sure it did more then, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I definitely can remember like being more affected then. I guess I'm just kind of giving like the net sum that like overall I made it out into the military with the mindset of like, I got to represent for Hawaii and being proud to be here. You know, the first tattoo I ever got at 18 years old was the islands across my back, shoulder to shoulder, with the big island, all topographical. You know, like that was the number one thing, was like, put it on my back.
And so it's also interesting, the dichotomy of like Hawaii and then the military, the U.S. government. Because your tutu was in the era where everything was banned because of the U.S. government. And then you're learning all these things, trying to grow into your Hawaiian identity, and then it's like, oh, join the American government and fight for America. But wearing the badge of Hawaii, like I'm proud and I'm doing this for my people. I'm not, in your mind, you probably weren't thinking, oh, I'm doing this because I'm proud to be American. I'm doing this for America. You're just like, I want to make Hawaii proud. But
I mean, I learned on both sides of that, you know? So I just had a very amazing conversation with Brandon Makaavaava from the Nation, the VP, Uncle Bumpy's VP over at the Nation Kingdom of Hawaii. And that's something I've always struggled with, and it's got me in some hot water because I exist in the camp where I think two things can be mutually exclusive, and I think it rests heavily on my experience. Like, I have dug deep into the history of Hawaii and the wrongs that were done to us, like many indigenous people, and they are 100% wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But through my experiences in other places and seeing my own version of hell on earth, I also came to the conclusion that I love being American also, which is hard. It's a hard one, and nobody has the answers for that. I understand both concepts. You know, I understand the concept of we are not American, we are Hawaiian. And I understand the concept of being patriotic and loving America. I think they can coexist in understanding. I think that's how growth and healing happens, is that you understand that this was wrong and we need to right it. But it doesn't mean that everything over here is Darth Vader and the Empire, you know? Which I understand, like, it's like with anything, right? What is focused on and what becomes the key endpoint is what you're gonna see the most of, right? Everybody has their sins and their wrongs. And that goes back across the globe to the beginning of time. There is never a time in history when one nation wasn't wronging another nation in history. And it just got a little less brutal as time went on, right? But you go back far enough, even in our own kingdom, like Kamehameha brought peace. Yeah.
By
After he had
killing
whacked
people,
plenty
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Like Brado
yeah.
went on a campaign to just smoke buggers and then was peace, So it's like having that experience in war taught me a lot about that, about the human condition, the human psyche. And I don't have the answers, but I do know that I want to see our people flourish. I do want to see my kids grow up in a flourishing Hawaii. Like we were living on the mainland when we had my first daughter. And when my wife was pregnant with our second, we made the decision to move home because she's also from here.
Mm.
And we both believed that this place is special and that you get something from growing up here that you don't get nowhere else.
Yeah, I agree. And I come from the same camp as you where I left Hawaii, lived abroad, seen the rest of the world, worked for the US government. I was in the Peace Corps. I wasn't in the Marine Corps. We're a little bit more peaceful.
Right.
But the same where I didn't realize that I was going to represent the American government. And I wrote about this in my book after I finished the Peace Corps, is like the identity crisis that I had, and I struggled with in the beginning because here I am in a foreign country trying to explain what American culture is when American culture is the thing that's foreign to me. Because all I know is Japanese, Hawaiian, local culture.
Yep.
So when they're like, oh, what do Hawaiians eat or Americans eat? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know, like mashed potatoes. We eat rice in Hawaii, and like this is the thing. And I try to explain it, and I'm trying to figure it out on my own too. Like, what am I? Like, yes, I'm American, but I'm so much proud. I'm way prouder to be Hawaiian.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to like American, okay, yeah, we're American nationality, but ethnically we're Hawaiian and all these other things, and that's kind of more of my identity. But then I realize all the benefits and the how amazing it is to be American because of what you get, especially when you compare it to outside of America. Like you said, the Western world, we're so privileged, and people do not understand that. Like they're like so I joined the Peace Corps in 2016 when the election was happening. So like Donald Trump and Biden, was it Biden? Yeah, Biden.
Where were you guys operating?
I was in Madagascar.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the poorest countries in the world.
Africa's
Straight
crazy, yeah.
poverty, like top 10 poorest countries in the world. There's like Somalia and other places, and Madagascar is in that range. And then people would be like, yeah, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to move out of America.
No, you're not.
And yeah, and like at first, because you live in echo chambers wherever you are, a lot of the Peace Corps volunteers, they're a lot more liberal and like, you know, and I'm just more like, I want to understand everything, all sides, every single point, and I'm not gonna choose a side. I just want to learn and be open. And years past, I'm like, had shootings in America, all these other things, the school shootings, and I'm like, honestly, I feel safer in Madagascar than I do in America. And people say they want to leave America and go to these other places. But they don't realize how lucky they are to have like all the like, yeah, we complain about healthcare and like job opportunities and like people treating each other poorly. But like, man, you go to the south of Madagascar, they're still living like they were 100 years ago, where women don't have a say in anything.
100%.
You go to like these places like you served in, women can't even show their face. I read a book under the, what's it called?
Sharia law.
I forget what it was. It's based on a real story. If I think about it later, but reading all that and like how the women just have no rights. They basically have no choice in their whole entire life.
They're essentially cattle in some of these places. I mean,
so that blew my mind.
That is something that woke me up after the first time of coming back, and that was because the term I've coined for it is, I call it the disease of the decadence that we have in the West. And really what I think it is it's just, you ever been like on a really good program you're working out, you're eating good, you're doing longevity stuff, and you just feel dialed in, right? And some reason that slips, right? And the longer that slips, the easier it is to not go back into that dialed in state. Even though you know that when I'm here, I'm dialed in, but it just slips and it keeps slipping and it keeps slipping. And I think that personally, I just think that there's something to how easy we have it. And this includes, like, that's why I use the term the West is like the UK, like all these first world nations, right?
Yeah, developed nations.
People, we have so many things that they give us to worry about, right? They give you all these things that this is, are you mad about this? Are you mad about this? Are you mad about this? And you forget that I'm not over here. I don't have to wake up and worry about clean water for my babies. I don't have to worry about being bombed out. I don't have to worry about roving bands of militia that are going to kidnap my daughters and do unspeakable things to them. I don't have to worry about my preteen sons being kidnapped and made child soldiers. You know what I'm saying? There's so many levels to trauma and they are unique. But what people don't understand is we get a baseline in the West that's crazy high. I mean, and you've experienced it. Like like you understand that, like, yeah, we do have these things that people can want better for. It's not that it's wrong to want more because other places don't have that. But when you start forgetting and you get so locked into your complaining and your frustration with the world and you forget the baseline that you have of, you got running plumbing. Yeah. And when you're thirsty, you go to that thing and you press the little tab and cold water comes out, you know? I never thought that I would appreciate that. That was one of the things that like just changed my whole life was in Iraq in the summertime. It's like 1:30. You don't even sweat. It's so hot. And all your water is on pallets that sit out in the sun all day. I remember the first time I came back and had cold water, I was like, bro, I will never take that for granted again. And then we had one point where, you know, I think the longest that I ever had tracked was like 20 days without a shower, nothing but baby wipes.
Mine was 10 days.
Yeah. And you know, like that shower, it feels divine, right? Like it feels like it's
a hot shower, like after going to the capital to
right, or even just being covered in water, right? Like it doesn't even have to be hot. Like I'd take a hose at that point, you know. And I just think that that's what it is that I think it's good to experience those things because that disease of decadence can easily take over because you just get so accustomed. It can be sometimes kind of like, you know, in the relationship where you stop appreciating your partner because they do so much, they take care of so much, they handle so much. And then it's not till you lose that where you're like, oh, dang, I forgot what I had there.
Take it for granted, yeah.
And that's what I think that is the big thing for a lot of people in the West that I get like, you guys don't want to find out. Cause like, say, you know, worst case scenario, say we do lose those privileges and we were to plummet to some other level or status because crazy things are happening in the world.
Which could happen in the next century.
Right. Very realistically. Very realistically. You can say whatever you want on Instagram. You know, it's cool to be on Instagram and talk, but 90% of y'all ain't built for that.
Yeah.
You're not built for that. Yeah. And if you don't know how to hunt, you don't know how to fish, you don't know how to build a house, you don't know how to create fire, you don't know how to do trauma. I mean, just those simple things like, do you know how to perform trauma care on someone that's been injured? 99% of people in America don't. And that's just number one, because if you're in that situation, you're gonna get hurt. Someone's getting hurt. Your friend's gonna get hurt. Your kid's gonna get hurt. If you don't know how to respond to that, guess what? In a situation where the whole infrastructure is down, that person's dead.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like people, then what's the response to that, right? Oh, you're crazy. You're talking crazy. Okay. I'm not saying you have to become a doomsday prepper, but if you're going to complain about the current setup that you have, I would highly, highly recommend not vacation. Vacation is not that. Peace Corps. You know what I'm saying? Greenpeace. The French Foreign Legion takes everybody, you know? You need to go and like live in a place, you know, or even go down with Auntie them in Waianae and volunteer at that camp and live down there. That's close to home. You know, you could do something like that. But like, you have to experience that level of
discomfort
and just going through that to, I think, really appreciate all the blessings you have.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree with everything that you said. And I perceive things in a very similar way. And I've talked with Jordan off the podcast about us trying to be more empathetic towards people, because it's hard when you have this level. Like, you've seen way more than a lot of other people, and you even more than me. There's levels to this, you know? And so it's hard to like sympathize and empathize with people who are complaining that they're waiting 10 minutes for their food, or that you know, somebody called them the wrong pronoun or something like that. And yes, I respect all of these things, but it's hard
100%.
for me to get to a place where like you're complaining on social media because somebody said something to you, and there's literally people dying. There's literally kids who don't have enough food, and you're complaining that somebody called you ugly or something like that, or whatever it is. So like that disconnect, and also like the what was the term? The disease of decadence. Of decadence, yeah. It's so real. And so the thing that I tell myself, and Jordan and I talk about, is just to try to like give people grace. Is like, hard is hard.
Right.
The hardest thing to me, and when the hardest thing to you is still the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That's anyone's ever gone to. Whether that's like, I don't know, like having to go a day without electricity because the telephone pole went out.
Which is that's a great way to look at it. And I think that's 100% true. The hardest thing you've ever been through is the hardest thing that you've ever been through.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say that I learned, and I know to be true all over the world that I've been to, is that everywhere I ever went in the world, I had aloha in my heart. I smiled at people, and I was humble. And of course, you ran into like shady situations, but they're just typical, mainly big city kind stuff. You know, like you have to just watch your back. Like everybody's trying to eat. And if you're aware that you're in the jungle and everybody's trying to eat, not the literal jungle, but like the concrete jungle, wherever you are, if you're aware that everybody out here is trying to eat. And if I look like a snack or a meal, then that's what I'm going to be. But outside of that, smile to people, you show aloha, you have humility. You know, you're not going there acting like you owe me something because I spent 10 grand to get here. What? And I think that's what a lot of people that have a bad experience in Hawaii don't realize, is that they come with that mindset of entitlement. Thank you. And they think, oh, I spent $10,000 to come on this vacation, and I'm spending $1,000 a night. That's a very jacked up way to have a good time, my friend. Because for anybody that's unaware, if you come to Hawaii, if you have respect and you are kind and you are open to learning, this will be the best people may ever treat you anywhere you go the world over. However, if you got a claim ticket that says, try me, we are the ones that will do that. Yeah. You know, Hawaii is the people that if you come out here with try me stamped across your forehead, guess what? Somebody's going to try you. Lure Street.
Yeah. That's like, why I say, people, Hawaiians, locals, we're not asking for trouble. We're not out there looking for trouble. It's a response to what somebody else has already done.
Well, let's be fair. Some is. For the most part, yes. Like, widely over, right? Like if you, and that's why I was using the world as an example. Like everywhere I went, for the most part, I'd say 95% of my interactions were amazing because I smiled at people, I was kind, and I had humility. I knew I'm in your home, I'm in your space. I'm just here to observe, check it out, you know, have a good time, whatever it was, you know, even when it was for work or whatever.
You were a good haole.
Yeah, exactly.
Respect. And that's like the thing people got to realize is when you leave your home, you're a haole, and you have to be a respectful haole. Right. Just like we want people to be respectful haoles when they come here. Right. Yeah.
And I think that's something that, to touch on that term, I think that's something that's actually gotten worse with social media. So here's my perspective on that. What has social media taught us, right? We all got to be somebody. And we all need to be somebody that's better than the majority so we can be somebody.
Mhm.
And I feel like so many people take that mentality to heart. And it's so hard when you have that mentality to go anywhere and have humility and learn. When you go somewhere with the I'm somebody mentality, right? So people will get offended when they hear that term, you got to be a good haole, right? And what's the immediate jump? I don't got to be a good nothing. I'm an American. That's the wrong response. Because if the person that's saying it is saying it with a good heart, I'm not telling you it. I'm not sunning you. I'm not saying, hey, Holly, be good. No, I'm giving you a piece of advice. And if your heart is open to it in the right way, you can understand that what that means is if you're open to learn, maybe the verbiage could be different, but verbiage can be different in any situation, you know? And if you open yourself up to that and are not so focused on standing on mine, everybody want to stand on, everybody feels like they got something to prove. Like, I don't got to do that. And I see that on all sides of the coin. I don't got to do that. That's everybody's immediate thing nowadays, right? Like everybody wants to be respected, praised, and supported, and nobody wants to give respect, praise, or support.
Wow. Heavy. That's good.
But it's easy though, right?
I know.
And our ancestors taught us that, right? Like that's one of the great things about Hawaiian culture that I love looking into is purpose. Everybody had a purpose, right? We even had systems in place for people that fell out of their purpose to help them refine their purpose, And that's another thing that, these things, they can do the okie doke on you, bro, and trick you, is that they make you think that when I go on here and talk to all my people on my lives, that's my purpose. And I'm constantly on here and I'm interacting with people. This is a tool. It's an amazing tool, but it's not your purpose. I promise you. Especially if you Kanaka and you're from here, it's not your purpose. It's a part of your purpose maybe, but it's not your purpose. And what that does is it tricks the mind a lot of times is you get so involved in this and you doing this all the time and you interacting and I defending the kingdom and I defending this and I defending this idea and I calling out that and I calling out this colonizer. When's the last time you went Aloha Aina for auntie down the road who's 88, When is the last time that you intake the brothers and sisters that get the same cocoa as you at the beach, some food? Who cares if they're a meth addict? Like maybe they need help, When's the last time you went offer to be of service,
Yeah.
And
maybe in their mind, being of service is gatekeeping social media.
Maybe, but I know that I just feel like that for me, that sometimes it almost feels like the world gave us something that's an IV drip to death if you let it be. Like this thing and this system, it's so awesome in so many ways. I get to connect with people like you. I get to keep up with friends millions of miles away. I get to meet and have people engage with my content from continents away. That's awesome. But it has to be mediated because it can become the drip of death that runs everything. It runs your psyche. It runs your mind state. It runs your emotional self-worth levels. And now we have scientific data that shows that it does that,
Yeah.
And so I think as people, especially from here, knowing what we do know, knowing what our ancestors knew, it's like we do have a kuleana to make sure that we are finding purpose outside of this digital world. And again, I'm in this same space with you, So it's like, I'm not degrading what we do at all, but you got to put on top of that too,
Well, everything in moderation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I talked on a town hall about social media, and I agree, it's a tool. It's a great tool. Everybody should leverage it for business, to stay in touch with people. But yeah, you don't want to be scrolling all day and living on social media because that's not real life. I say that social media for the most part isn't real. It's just highlight reels. And a lot of times people start comparing their lives to everybody else on social media. And then that's where it gets to that almost like competition within people. It's like, oh, they're doing something, like I got to do that or I got to do it better. When it's just like, cool. You can either be jealous or inspired by what you see on social media. And if you curate your feed, because we can do that. There's an algorithm. You can make your whole feed positive. You can make your whole feed motivational. You could, just have only your friends. You don't have to like let this outside noise always come into you and affect you. And like the craziest thing about social media when people complain about all this stuff, I'm like, if you don't like something, just don't
Don't
watch
tune
it.
in.
Like it's that simple. Like to me, life is so simple. We make
Right.
it so complicated. If you don't like what somebody's saying, okay, then don't watch it.
Go outside.
If you really don't like living here, go move somewhere
Right.
else. Like people that come here, they all got all these problems with locals and housing and whatever. Like okay, well we're not asking
Kailua.
you to cry Lua, you know, which
Shout out the OG Kailua
OG,
boys.
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
some
yeah.
brothers over there that's solid.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. It's like we complain and complain and complain, and you know, I'm in the Goggins camp of stay hard and
Who gonna carry the boats?
yeah, we got carry the boats. You know, when you're in the
Yep.
trenches, there's nobody gonna help you but yourself.
Exactly.
So I think people.
I have that flag hanging in my garage.
Nice, I love
Nobody's coming to save you. It's up to
that.
you.
Yeah, see,
You know,
you're
and-
you're welcome into this space because
Yeah.
we're all Goggins peeps over here.
Nobody's coming to save you, and it's up to you. You
Yeah.
know? I actually, oh damn it, I don't have my phone. I wrote down a quote from a friend that I knew years ago that I lived with in San Diego. And
After the shishi break, you can get it.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't want to butcher it. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he is a former SEAL, and he has a quote that I absolutely love, and I don't want to butcher it, so I won't. We'll wait. We'll wait till
Okay.
later to
Well,
bring it back.
we'll come back to all of this because I know we both have so much to say, and I think people need to hear this kind of things because I think we've fallen into the convenience of how easy life can be
Yes.
and how we can have things at our fingertips, Uber Eats, hot water, hot shower, stuff like that.
It all adds up slowly. That's
yeah,
why,
yeah, and then it makes it's like we're looking for problems because there isn't enough problems.
right.
So that's how I see society. But again, we'll put that off to the side, and I want to get to know your history. So after joining the military, you stayed in there for about 8 years. You said.
Yeah, I was just under that. I think I got out at 7 and 3 months or something like that when
Okay.
I got out in 2009.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I know you were assigned artist at some point.
Yep. Yeah, that took many, many years. So my journey after that was I moved to the Bay Area right out of the Marine Corps for a while. And I started off living in the city, quickly found out that wasn't going to be possible because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And this is back in, 2010, 2009. So I lived out there for a minute. Then I ended up going over to Oakland. Shout out to Turf World goons out there. So I met up with some really solid Popolo brothers over there that took me in. One brother, his brother had a tattoo shop downstairs, and upstairs had like these 3 like maybe like the bar. It was like enough for a bed, like almost like at a monastery or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you couldn't call it a bedroom. It was like a closet bed, right? And so I started. That's like where I first started recording really and getting into it. And then we would like clean the tattoo shop at night for stuff. And then I started. I was doing like battles and stuff to like help subsidize my rent out there, just moving around the city.
Freestyle battles.
Yeah, yeah. This is back when like
Yeah, yeah.
freestyle battles was all over beats,
Like ciphers?
like 8 Mile style. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like how nowadays it's all cadence and it's
Yeah.
acapella.
Side note: that ending of 8 Mile, one of the best ending of
Oh yeah,
any movie of all time.
Yeah, great ending, great ending.
So good. I rewatch that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he wrote a lot of that movie. Like
Yeah.
Eminem helped with the writing, which is really impressive.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I was there for a minute, and then I was like during this time period I was hopping back and forth whenever I could, and then my folks had moved home from being on the mainland for a while, and so I decided I wanted to come home for a bit, keep doing music. I linked up with a bunch of super solid brothers. Actually, one of my best friends, Big Mox, aka Jonah Jackson. He works with Les out of Animal House Kahala Records. Shout out Jonah, Moxie Bombay, and then all the Angry Locals boys. So Chris Styles,
Yeah, yeah,
Osna.
yeah.
That's all
Funny
like
guys.
my best brothers in music. And then my boy Jim Hurdle, who goes by Pro. That was all kind of like my alma mater of like the Hawaii hip hop scene. And so we kind of jumped in at a time where Hawaii hip hop was kind of shifting in a different direction. We got to ride that wave and be part of it. There was a crazy, amazing scene of energy in Hawaii at the time. Like there was giant freestyles under the bridge across from Ice Palace and Pearl City, like fat ciphers. Every night behind Next Door in Chinatown, like was rappers, just like people doing shows. I mean, everybody, all the different groups, all kind of pretty much for the most part got along. We all would go to each other's shows, pack out these places, super good energy. Everybody was supporting everybody's stuff. And just along that journey, I realized like, okay, I want to go further with this. Like, I don't want to just stay here. And along that, releasing projects, and we had a couple like little hood classics in Hawaii where they was first time one of my songs came out and I heard somebody bumping it through Kalihi and I was like, oh yes, it's and that just made me want to take it further. So I just Mox was a huge influence to me. He's a lifelong musician, teacher. He runs a program called T-Shirt Theater in Kalihi, or with his mentor George, and they have been helping kids for decades now. And so that journey of art, I had all these people pouring into me, and I wanted to go further, and I realized that I had to get out of Hawaii to do that. So I did the smart thing and moved to LA with no relationships, no connections, and basically just on a hope and a prayer, and through some very, like, I call it divine intervention situations, I ended up in a studio there with a ton of incredible artists who most of them are now all either Grammy nominated or Grammy winning artists that I got to work with. Me and my partner, this thing I have on my fingers, Carter Park, we got signed as a group called Carter Park to a development deal under Bystorm Entertainment, which is Mark Pitts' label on RCA. He signed like J. Cole and Miguel and all that. And then basically we're under that umbrella for a couple years working, and it was not a good deal. It ended pretty poorly for me in the situation. That's a whole podcast in itself. All the music industry antics that I went through. But basically, after I got out of that deal finally, I was pretty worn out. I mean, my pace was kind of just how I do everything. And so when I got there, I was living in the studio, basically. I would show up at the studio at like 9, 10 in the morning and would leave at like 7, 8, 9 the next day. Usually go home, shower, maybe catch a nap for like 3, 4 hours, go back to the studio. Or I'd go home, pass out maybe like 8, 9 hours, like every 3 days from running it so hard. Boys would call me up 1 a.m. like, hey, so-and-so's coming in. All right, I'm there. Shoot down La Cienega to the studio in West Hollywood and just be there. Like Mox got to come out, a couple of the boys got to come out and see it. And for me, I wanted to be successful in music, but it was never the motivation. For me, the motivation was always like, I wanted to get to a point where I was respected by my peers and I could swing in these rooms. And so when I started doing that and seeing that, it was intoxicating, like in the best way. But what it kind of blinded me to at the time was the business side of things. And that's where I got screwed.
Yeah. And you're mid-20s at this point?
Right. And now that was also coupled with the fact that music became what I would consider a unhealthy therapy. So I 100% very much needed therapy and needed healing at this time for everything I had been through previously to that in the military and life in general. When I found music, I found that when I throw myself into this, everything goes quiet. However, that's not the best way to, excuse me, that is not the best way to heal, So I found that when I dive into this thing, all the demons and monsters go away.
Yeah.
But only while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I have to try to 24/7 be doing this and nothing else.
And that's why you had this urge to continuously do it.
But as you can imagine,
you couldn't sit in silence.
No.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, that's not healthy for relationships. I I hurt a lot of people along that journey. I was selfish a lot along that journey. I was self-involved a lot along that journey, you know? And it wasn't until way further on down the road, I would say until my wife was pregnant with our first and I found out I was having a daughter. So my mom always gave me this phrase that she would say, because a lot of my siblings have a lot of kids. And she had 5, and then we had like a Hanai cousin that was basically, you know, like the 6th, and then her sister got 7, the other one got 9. She would always tell me, if you need to learn tenderness, God's gonna give you a girl. If you need to learn strength, he can give you a boy.
Wow.
You know, which that's one of those mom sayings, you know.
Give
it what
true.
you will. But for me, at that time in my life, 100%, your boy needed to learn tenderness.
Yeah.
And that was in a lot of different ways in how I treated relationships. And then the big one for me was how I treated myself. You know, coming from Hawaii, I've talked to a lot of brothers that I love very much that have grown through a lot also. And you can tell me if you've had this experience. What is one of the things when we're growing up here and you're talented at something? I'm gonna be uncle, right? You're Kamaka. Hey boy, I heard you in Mean Podcaster. What's your response when you're growing up?
What do we say? Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I'm
Right.
doing my best.
Right. So our trained response, and this is pretty much all polys, right? Not just Hawaiians. Like my Tongan bros, the Samoan brothers, like everybody grew up the same way. If you're talented at something, or if you are showing a lot of talent in something, you come up for the most part learning. When someone gives you a compliment, your response is, nah, not even. Head down, shaking your head.
Yeah.
You don't recognize it. We push that off. No, I'm not good. That can't be me. I'm not good. You know? And that's real. We don't realize that. And I'm telling you now, brothers, like if you don't have kids, you're gonna find out when you have kids, all those bullet holes in the armor, you know? And we don't see that when we're growing up. Like I never noticed that about me until I started trying to go through this process of healing and being better for my family, that like, oh crap, I hate me. You know, like, and not just like, not like in like a melodramatic way, like I truly don't know how to care about myself. Like I when someone compliments me, I need to deflect. I can't just accept it. You know what I'm saying? When someone tries to love you, that lifetime of not being able to take compliments has grown into this monster that doesn't know how to be loved, or doesn't know how to be cared for, or doesn't know how to care for someone else.
Yeah, and here you are in a position where you need to love your wife, your daughter, your family, when you don't even love yourself.
And for me, what it really was is I felt like it was God essentially saying, "You gonna be the template." And what I mean by that is that I'm about to have this baby girl, and I am gonna be the template that she hopefully will use to choose the person she's gonna be with someday. So what does that template look like? And at the time, oh boy, that template did not look good, you know? And so that was the big wake up call. And the first time I had the realization that music was a beautiful thing, and I would never take anything back from it. But it also was something that I wasn't ready to do. If I'm 100% honest with where I'm at now and the reflection I have now, like I wasn't ready in the sense that not that I didn't have the skill or the passion or anything like that. It's just that I had so much other stuff that needed addressing before going after something like that.
Yeah, sounds like it was more of a escape from reality than a way of expression for you at that point.
Well, it was both, right? It was like, because music is very cathartic, and so is writing, you know, especially like the process of going through and making a song from scratch, and especially when it's collaborative with other people or even just in your own room. Anybody that makes music knows that process of inception of idea, creation of idea, to putting that art out in the world, it's amazing. It's an amazing process. I love that process, you know? But when it's your only form of therapy, it can be dangerous, you know?
Mhm.
That is why so many of the greats in that process we lose early,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Because when it feels like it is the ultimate therapy when you're doing it. But the reality is it's not, you know? Because those things are actually helping you write all those songs, you know, all that stuff that's inside of you that you're trying to get through and go through and need to heal from, like all that pain. Like nothing writes songs like pain.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like some of the most amazing songs we've ever heard have been penned and made from the most incredible ordeals of pain.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful because of it, but you should also heal that pain when you're done writing that song.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like it's more like just always have like another outlet other than like don't put all your eggs into this one basket when it comes to life and healing and just in general.
I mean, that's my experience, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
That's what I would say.
Which is it sounds like it's a pretty common thing even amongst athletes. It's like
yeah,
they their whole life is just based on this one sport that they do, and then once it ends then they're like, okay, well, that was my whole identity, what do I do now? And now I have to go deal with all these other issues that I just been
Right.
ignoring, not even just the physical pains but like all this emotional and mental
right.
battles.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think
that's
it's pretty common.
that's a part of what, you know, for one of the best terms ever, I think that is the Babylon system right there.
Mhm.
That system, that part of the system, I hate that part of the system that tells you that you need to find out in 8th grade what you want to do for the rest of your life. You need to figure out getting good at that thing for the rest of your life. And then you need to go spend the next 45 years doing only that thing.
Whether you like it or not, as long as you're paying the bills.
Right. And that's what? Like,
And
that's
you call
crazy.
it a life.
Right. Right. And whose quote is that? I think it's Damian Marley's, has that song Slave Mill, where he says, you know, it's hard to see or it's hard to tell, but it's grinding slow, but grinding still, the old slave mill, you know? And it's just like, if you look at that process that's been in place, it's been in place forever. And there's a lot of positives to it. And there are people that 100% excel and flourish in that setup, right? I was always one of those people that did not work good in that box. And nothing exceptional ever came out of me while in that box. It always was outside of that box. And I've seen other people do the same thing, you know? So it's like, I don't have a problem with the system itself necessarily. I have a problem with the system being pushed as the universal solution to all people. You know, that every single individual spirit, person, and entity should should strive to achieve in the same way.
Sounds like the government. It's like, hey, this is the only way to get better from COVID is everybody take a vaccine.
Right.
So it's not like a one size fits all kind of thing. Right. Whether that's comes to medication, therapy, or like choosing a career, going to college or not going to college, graduating high school, getting a GED. Like I think that's my favorite thing about living in this era is that we do push creativity.
Yes.
More than a 9 to 5, more than, so we're getting more outside of the box. Whereas my my parents' generation, it was like they all had the same goal.
Yeah.
Go to college, get a job, work that job until you get old and pay off your student debts at 60 years old.
Right. Which made a lot more sense in the economy that they lived in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But multiplicatively, that clearly didn't work out for our generations, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like that's not something that's, if you will say, in the cards for most people. You know, it's not even like a partial reality, especially if you live here. You know, like so my day job, I work with a couple friends doing flips and like full remodels outside of the content space. And it's very hard work, but it's great. I love the people I do it with. I love the couple sets of friends that I work with. But at the same time, it's maddening. Like when you go to look at a property that was built in 1956 and they want 1.7 million for it because of the zip code that it sits in. You know, that's wild. You know, that's wild. That, I mean, I know housing prices are bad everywhere, but when you look at Hawaii, it's just like, I mean, there's so many contributing factors. I understand that. But what I do get tired of is I get tired of the commerce side of stuff. I know I'm going on a tangent here.
Go for it.
But,
It's your episode. Do what you want.
But the commerce side of things always push in that, like, it's not too hard to buy a house in Hawaii. It's like, it's hard as, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it's not hard if you have the money already.
right. And look, like, don't hear me wrong here. Like, I 100% am on board and like backing people, Hawaiian people, poly people understanding financial literacy. That should 100%, like, we should be taught that in school. That's way more important than a lot of things that we get taught, right? So I'm not downing the principles and the things that you're trying to put in place that would allow you to be in that position to purchase a home, but making it like it's just this, all you got to do is, you know, like, just like how fitness influencers do it, you know, like, all you got to do is these 3 easy steps. And it's like, no, it's 2 years of hardcore planned food and work. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but you have to be real with people. Like, this is not, you're not going to have a house in a year, you know, you're not going to have this. And I think that there is a solid to that delayed gratification of having to work through things and work through your problems and work through all that stuff. But the overall, like, temperature that we have here, just of things in general, like the cost of groceries, like what we pay to try to remain here, you know, because there's been at least, I want to say, like, I came home in 2017, and I want to say since 2017, we have seriously considered moving at least 3 times.
Wow.
Just because it's like, with kids and for the future, it's like, yes, my wife's sisters are here. 2 of my brothers are here. So it makes more sense as far as like family and stuff. My parents are here, her father's here. So it makes more sense. But at the same time, it also feels like irresponsible to like even consider home. Like, this is both of our home, but it feels irresponsible to even consider it just because of how much harder it is. You know, how much more costly it is, how much more aggressive you need to be with the budgeting and saving and just all these different things, you know? And it feels just like gross.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's a lot of sacrifices that needs to be made to be able to stay here.
Yeah, for sure.
When you were mentioning about like learning all this, it reminded me of this post I just shared. I think it's a meme. I think I just shared it the other day. Oh, right there it says, "I'm glad I learned about parallelograms instead of how to do taxes. It really comes in handy this parallelogram season."
100%. Yeah. I saw something about that it was very much linear along the same lines, and it said something like, it was something about like the English language, instead of learning how to balance a checkbook. And it says, because at least now I can write superfluous, but I'm 6K in debt, you know, because I don't know how to balance my checkbook, but I know how to spell this word.
Yeah,
you know?
It's so weird the things we put emphasis on growing up. I think we should be teaching people how to do taxes and like financial literacy. I think that's like the next step of getting our society way more advanced instead of parallelograms and
right. That term though, advanced, I think is right, because it's like, I feel like if that's what was the goal, and I'm not like super conspiracy, but like someone's running this crap. You know what I'm saying? Like someone out there is doing something, because it's obvious now with the world we live in that there's people that make plays that affect all of us that we don't know about, right?
Yep.
And so if the goal was a better society, we have the tools to do that. We're not trying to do that, you know? Like, they need I don't want to sound crazy, but it's like they need a fall through of only like 3% figure it out, and the other 97 just go with the flow. And that's one of the big things that I think in some ways is great about our generations, and in other ways not so great, because there is a more softness and less willing to work, but there is much more awareness than like say our grandparents' generation,
Mhm.
where they were just like, this is what we got to do. All right, you know, and
Mhm.
everybody got to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, while it did work for you guys for a little time, what we all found out is like, there's a reason for that, because everybody being on the same program benefits a much smaller portion of
Mhm.
people a lot more than it benefits your neighbor and your neighbor
Mhm.
next to them and your neighbor next to them.
Yep.
You know?
Well, I believe the government is corrupt.
Oh,
I think
yeah, there's no doubt in that.
since living abroad and seeing corruption like
Yeah.
right in front of me, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, America is corrupt. They just hide it a lot better.
I don't even think we hide that good anymore.
And
I
then,
mean,
well, everybody's starting to like come out with all these things and talk about it openly, which I love. I mean, I love what Brenton Awa is doing in Hawaii.
I love that, brother. Hey,
Yeah.
bro, we have never met, but shout out.
Brenton's
Yeah,
amazing.
that brother is. I can't speak to his integrity because we don't know each other, but
Mhm.
from what I see on social media, I dig what brother's doing, and I
Mhm.
like a leader that goes after it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that ability he's trying to do right now, I think it's something that Hawaii is needed forever.
Yeah. A lot of places. New Zealand does it. Madagascar does it.
Bro, shout out Aotearoa. They're so
Yeah.
ahead of the game. Their music
know, right?
production, their choreography, the cultural strength, bro. Like, you go over there, Aotearoa, and you see like people that look like they're from Kailua speaking full on Maori. Like, it's bananas, you know?
We love
So
that.
shout out our cousins, because yeah, they're a huge inspiration to me. They always have been, because all fronts, man. They're artistic. They're artistic, you know, they're filmmakers, they're producers, you know, and we have all that here. And I love all of our people doing it, but it's good to have cousins that's in that space that's doing it also,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like, yeah, that's somewhere that they really, they're doing it, man. They're doing it.
Yeah, amazing. So before we get into a shishi break, I want to get caught up to what you're doing now with your whole content creating, because that's something that has only been a year to tell them the story.
So a year today. So I was driving here to this podcast, and iPhone, you know, gives you the little memories. So I got the iPhone pop up of my bro Kenji, who does all our behind the scenes production and post production work. He has a podcast called Kenji Walks, or it's titled 100 Bad Videos. So the concept was he wanted to inspire other creatives to put out their art no matter what it was, and that through that process you will grow and it will become better. So you might have 100 bad videos, but eventually you're going to start having good videos. And that really hit for me. And so I called him and I said, hey man, I've been sitting on these videos. This is before he was shooting my stuff. And I was like, it's self-produced, but I'm going to take your advice. I needed that push to do this when I just started this content game. And he was like, bro, we got to talk about it. Come on my podcast. And that was 1 year ago today that we started that. And this is the second podcast I've been on.
Yes, today is February 7th, 2024.
Yep.
That's the day we're recording.
Yep. So, yeah, we are doing Keep It Aloha is the second podcast that Kealoha has been on. And this is...
Keep it Kealoha today.
Yeah, yes. So, yeah, this is the second podcast. And then we're doing it literally 1 year from the day.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
It's dope. It's so dope.
Stuff like that, like whether you're religious or not, like how can you say that's not a higher power?
I mean, I am, so I say yes.
Yeah.
That's all God, baby.
Yeah.
You know, that's all God,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
All praise due to Most High. Like that's me all day. Like that's what I think. But I also believe that it's like I have this thing where it's like that old school term of like God helps people that help themselves. You know, and I've always felt that way. That like it's like a parental relationship. Like you're gonna be given these seasons in your life, and they're opportunities to learn. And you can learn that lesson one time, and then you can move on to the new stuff. And like a parent, give you more responsibility. I give you more blessings and all this stuff. Or you can keep going around the mountain and learning this same lesson over and over. And we all know those people, right? We all know those people that we know they've been on Groundhog Day for 10, 15 years. But then they always, man, they complaining, right? And in your head, you're like, bro, if you just stop doing,
I know.
So I think that we've worked really hard, and like one of the things that people don't see is like right now we are condensing our entire week of production into one day. That's around 12 hours on average, because I have full-time work. I have a family. Kenji has a family. He has another business,
Yeah.
So we are literally a group of like just creative brothers that we saw something and we're excited about it. We've got the blessing of being able to work with some amazing brand partners and things have been growing. But man, as you know, it is hard work, like it's a lot of work, and especially on top of your other work, and people, I think that's one of the things that I do have a lot of empathy for, is that a lot of times nowadays people see a creator and they put them in this like Mr. Beast kind of space where they're like, oh, he's a creator, he's just chilling every day, and like, brah, half the time I'm swinging a hammer, and I'm up, I'm framing out a new house, or I'm on a
You got
roof.
all these side hustles.
Yeah, like it's, and then I have to make the time to write the treatments, to create the ideas, to pick the songs, to make sure the dish is good, to scene by scene the whole thing with Kenji, and then we have to edit it. So it's like there's so much work, and to just write people off that you see doing content. Yes, I know that there is people that have that, but not all of them start with money. And some of them worked really hard to get to that point where they own that time back, And to me, that's the only reason why I work so hard on this, is because I see a window where this has the opportunity for me to allow me to own more of my time, which for me, the wealth in that is just more time with my ohana, more time to go chill with my kids, watch movies, learn things, you know what I'm saying? Like spend time with my family, spend time with my friends, allows me to bless people in my life that I care about, it gives me more agency to have a greater impact on the lives that I'm in.
Definitely. And that's as you get older, you realize like those are important things in life. It's not money, it's not these nice fancy things. It's just like peace, quality time
brother.
with the people you love. I it's funny. People see content creating as like this very simple thing because you just see the results. You don't really see the hard work that goes on beyond the 9 to 5 hours that people are accustomed to. I've gotten so many comments before, like from friends and people like, oh yeah, sorry, I can't do this because I have a real job, like stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, come sauna and cold plunge with me, 8:30 and then no, but even like as like jokes.
Yeah.
But like I don't think they really understand. Like I've created my life where I can work out at 8:30. I could do a sauna cold plunge. I can start my day at 10:30 with meeting and everything, and basically work at night when you're probably sleeping.
Right.
But it's just because you're not like going into an office and punching in, punching out. It's not really looked as like a real job. Like, yes, I have a podcast, but there's so much that goes on between these meetings, scheduling and cutting, listening back to this, posting every single day on 4 different platforms. And it's constant work. Like to me, how I view hard work as this like physical like, so the people like that you work with, housekeeping, like to me that's hard physical work. To me, this is just constant work, constant, which makes it hard.
It's also very mentally exhausting. Well, I think both are true.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning, like two things can be true at once.
Yeah, I think both are true because coming from my perspective, like always being more on the artist side, and with this Kealoha counter stuff, having to jump more into like the brand bag of like what, like I'm not like this personal artist anymore. Like Kealoha's counter is a brand thing, right? And I'm working with brands. So what does that look like? And that's very different, right? And also on that same note, what you were talking about how you schedule your life and setting those things up, that's another one of those diseases of social media, I feel like. Because a lot of people is all waha when it comes to that, because you could take a lot of people, give them your template, your layout, give them all the keys, right? Which for most of us, I know for me, these keys didn't get given to me. Like I figured these things out along the way through hard work and just, okay, that didn't work. What's next? Okay. You could give them the whole template, and a lot of people ain't doing nothing with it.
They don't know how to work hard.
Yeah, they say they want that smoke, but then when the reality comes of like nobody's waking you up to do what you got to do at that time. I'm same thing. Like when I wake up usually around 4:30. I try to, but usually 5 is after a couple snoozes, and then you know, greens, coffee, and then try to get in for some, you know, weight work in the morning, and then off to a manual labor job, and then try to dedicate 2 days a week outside of the actual shooting to the writing process, the song selection, going scene by scene. I was like, you know, picking the parts, even sometimes down to picking how the edits are gonna roll to the syncopation of the drums or whatever it is, you know, like whatever we're doing. And then, as you know, all of that background correspondence that happens when you're working with brands, you know, having to have 15 emails about where this is gonna sit. No shade to Shaka T. I'm not saying that, but just, you know, in general, when you're working, the bigger people that you're working with, the more red tape that gets involved. And that's a lot of work, you know, and both those things are true. But I think that the reality is I have a lot of respect for people that go get it on their own, because not that I don't have respect for brothers that's out there busting their okole, like it's hard work. But what I will say in the overall sense of it, to me at least, it's easier to be told what to do than it is to figure out point A to point B and see that through. When you have to figure out every step of point A to point B, and then you have to also figure out how to make that point B profitable, that's a lot harder than just, how's it, boss?
Yep,
shoots, boss, you know? And I don't mean harder in the sense of like demeaning that, but I'm saying like it's more rare to see people that can do that on their own without constant pushing and overseeing and all that are self-sufficient, you know, that are self-motivators. It's more rare, I should say, to see that than it is to see people that can just clock in, clock out.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. And like you said, there's no roadmap. This to find yourself. Like your whole career path was like, even you, nobody told you to join the military. Nobody told you to move to LA. Nobody told you to, you know, start a family, but also get into content creating all at the same time while trying to figure out how to move to Hawaii and live there and be sustainable, blah, 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 you know? Nobody told you to do that. That you figured out on your own. This is what you need to create the life that you want. And that's why I respect it.
Yeah. And it's just the process, you know. I think it's walking through it step by step, and you learn as you go. And to wrap up that whole talk that we just went through, the one thing I would want to add is the only reason why I do all of that is because it fulfills a part of me that needs to be fulfilled. You know, like there is a part of me that when art is not a part of my life in some way and I'm not creating, that everyone that's attached to me gets a lesser, worse version of Kealoha than when. So I've found that in my life, I've done that. I've had years of that where I put creativity completely on the back burner and just focus on work. And the person that everybody that cares about me got sucked. It was not cool, you know? And then I've learned now my work schedule and my workload is way higher than it's ever been. But the people that I love the most, starting with my immediate ohana, you know, they're getting the best version of me that they could get, you know? And that comes with the pitfalls and the hard times and the stressed out, like, is this thing gonna go true? Is this gonna work? You know, like, but at the same time, it's much more true to like who daddy is, who the husband I am is, who the brother I am, the son, you know. It's in my view who God made me to be. You know, I'm living that out with more work. It's much harder. It's a much harder existence than if I was to just clock in, clock out somewhere, but it's way more fulfilling, and I feel like I get to give the people who love me the best version of K that I can.
It's meaningful.
Right.
And like, you know, you said in the beginning, it's like having that purpose.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm happy you found your purpose.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a quick shishi break. We went
Let's do
way
it.
over our
Oh, sorry.
shishi break, but I didn't have to shishi. That's why.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah,
shishi.
so we'll go. Okay, we'll be right back. Immerse yourself in the underwater wonders of Hawaii's marine life with Hawaii Ocean Charter's hands-on guided snorkeling tours. Whether it's your first time falling in love with Waikiki or you're rediscovering its beauty just like me, there is no better way to see it than from the ocean. Personally, it was one of the best things I have done this year. I got to snorkel with some turtles and fishes, and I was able to catch the coolest sunset over the water. Conveniently located in Kaka'ako with online booking and live availability, finding the perfect day on the water couldn't be easier with them. Ride in style on their unique and well cared for power catamaran that offers all the amenities you need. Locally owned and operated, their friendly crew lives for sharing their love for the ocean with others. Sunset cruises, guided snorkeling tours, whale and dolphin watching, coastal sightseeing, and fireworks shows are among the tours their guests love the most. Use code KIA50 to get $50 off of your next charter. Are you looking for a game that's guaranteed to make you laugh at your next party? You need to check out Moat Gabs, the newest card game designed right here in Hawaii for locals by locals. Race against the clock as you read seemingly random phrases that sound like gibberish at first, like Pio Gold Mango, or Heat Wood Go, or something like Male Lay Cow Liki Maka, until you figure out the local phrase. Mele Kaliki Maka, Eddie Would Go, and Pickle Mango. Each card has phrases that could be a person, place, or thing, but any local should know them. They just might not understand it at first. Moat Gabs, the fun kind game where you read the gibberish out loud to decode the local phrase. All right, we're back from a quick shishi break and a long off the pod talk story. I wish we recorded it all, but if you want to hear all the uncut conversations, you got to head to Patreon and sign up for the $10
There's a lot
tier. There's a lot of good stuff. Okay, so let's get into the social media fan questions presented by Texco in Hawaii.
All right, let's do it.
This first one comes from _ I or L, I don't know if that's a capital I or lowercase L, Siguenza _ How did he get started with cooking? He's hilarious. Total throwback, LOL.
Total throwback. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I've been cooking since I was as long as I can remember. So I'm the oldest and basically had to start cooking for my siblings, and most of like growing up life I hated it because it was a chore, right? Like cooking for my siblings was a chore, cooking for family was a chore. But then I also left the house really early because I joined the military at 17, so I was on my own. And I think it was like more like when I was in the military that I began to like it. Because all that practice of cooking growing up, what I found out is like most of my contemporaries when I got into the military that were like 17, 18, 19, choke people didn't even know how to make rice or cook eggs. So I was like, I was a chef to them that I could make good over easy eggs and rice.
You can crack the egg with one hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so it's just like, well, that and like, like there's a lot of kids that grow up with like no fresh food. They just, like it's all like takeout or box dinner or whatever. So you make something with some real flavor to it and they're like, you can cook. And then it's just that, like I just stuck to it and specifically got better when I was living in the Bay Area. A bunch of my roommates were culinary. So when I was going to the art school I was going to in SF, a bunch of the people I lived with and was friends with were all culinary majors. And in that state, it's legal to partake in recreational activities. So we would be in an apartment full of people partaking in recreational activities and
they had a big
cooking.
appetite.
Yeah, and cooking, So like I learned a lot from that time frame, just like of the more like, like just more like basics and like how to judge things up and make them taste better, basic flavor profiles, how flavors work together and that kind of stuff. And then just sticking with it, like I feel like that's part of our culture. We're pretty resourceful, So, and then growing up poor, like you learn how to make a lot from a little. So that helps a lot. But I just got started as long as I can remember ago, and no like former schooling or something. I just had fun with it and kept
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah.
So I think people that follow you, that see you cooking and doing the dancing and music, I mean, it's just a good vibe in general, but they think you're a chef.
I am not.
Yeah.
No. Nope. I have a lot of very good chef homies that I have the top of respect for. Like I have so much respect for chefs. And if you understand, like truly understand, like the word chef gets thrown around a lot, right? Like there's people that I could cook circles around that call themselves a chef. If you are a good chef, the level between what I do and what a real solid chef just has forgotten already, it's leagues, right?
Yeah.
Like Kamaka said, like this is something I love on people I love with, and I just took it to a platform where we could kind of showcase that to the world, you know? And the tagline of it is that music for the soul, food for the people. Like we just talked about this off camera, that there's few things in the world more disarming and bridge building for relationships and just human interaction than breaking bread with someone. And I truly believe that. And I think that if we can give you a 90-second clip that makes you want to sit down and make something for people you love, that's why I always end most of my posts with cook for somebody you love, because the way it talks to people, like any good chef, like I don't have to be a chef to know that. Like anybody that has dedicated their life to cooking will tell you that that's why they do it, because they love the love that it gives to people, you know? And if you cook for someone you love, then
it's an act of service.
Act of service, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And the thing that people don't realize is, yes, everything that he's cooking tastes super, looks super good, but it tastes terrible. That's the thing that he's not telling everybody.
Yeah, that's my secret. That's my secret. Yep. That's the secret.
A lot of food coloring, a lot of artificial. No, actually, I gotta taste your food one day.
I know, yeah, we gotta have him on, because I get everything from the 7-Eleven in New Valley.
I just want to be there to try the food.
Oh no, now you have to come dance. We're bringing Kamaka in.
I don't dance, that's the thing. That's why I don't want to be on.
Next hyphy movement, come on.
Yeah, no. I'd be moonwalking out of there like that.
No, yeah, shout out 7-Eleven in New Valley. That's where I get all my ingredients from.
Nice.
I buy everything from aisle 7. That's it.
All right. Next question comes from Aiden_FR_cooks. This person wants to know, what is your motivation?
What we talked about earlier, my motivation to do this is it fulfills me to be the best version of Kealoha to the people that are in my life. You know, without creation in my life, I've done that and I know who I am without it. And I'm just not me. It's not the same person. And this is an avenue that allows me to reach people creatively. But it also, my goal of this is to bring joy. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback that we're doing that. And that motivates me, you know. The number one motivation is to be the best version of myself to the people that love me. And the secondary motivation, I guess I would say, is that I want to be as impactful as I can be while I'm on this earth. And I want to use the tools able to that, because that's the big thing about creating, is that it's not always going to be that forever, you know? So right now, while it's Kealoha's counter, we're just going to try to keep kicking out these joys and feeding people, you know?
Nice. I love that. And it's always so refreshing to get a nice message or a very heartfelt comment. Right. And that stuff is like, this is why I do it, because people like you who it's resonating with, and you're just, maybe you said you were having a hard time and this just brought you joy in your tough day, and I love that.
Yeah, I love that too, because it's a stark contrast from all the chefs that be in the comments telling me what I'm doing wrong. Chefs. Not actual chefs. It's always some like private profile with like an anime picture that's like, you should have did this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's just keyboard warriors.
That's how you know that you're making an impact, you know? Like when people take time out of their day to come to something that they're telling you, you took time out of your day to tell me how much you hate what I'm doing. Thank you.
Yeah, haters are our motivators. Yeah. But also, because we also talked about all like the Instagram hate and stuff off the podcast. And I think being able to get to a point where I'm sure you don't really get, I don't know what there is to hate about your content.
Oh no, I get, trust me, bro. I get a lot of DM hate.
Okay, too. I don't understand why people are bored with their life, but
the number one thing that I get is people will clown me for dancing. Like that's the number one thing. They'll be like, "Oh, you can't dance for shit," you know? And I'm just like, well, I'm not here to like win so you think you can dance, you know? Like I'm here to just vibe out and have a good time and enjoy myself.
You're a good dancer. I grew up watching America's Best Dance Crew.
Yeah.
And I would
shout out my boy Headache and Josh Ulep. Josh Ulep is now part of the Jabberwockies, the Almighty. Yeah.
I would say you can hold your own, but people just don't want to understand you and going to like respond. Do you ever respond to them?
No, never.
Yeah. Okay, that's
never.
Good. Because my thing that I said, especially when I had all that hate, is like I don't need to explain myself to people who only want to misunderstand me.
Right.
And unless you follow what we're doing, you actually take the time to really dig into who the people are. Like you say, you watched the whole episode and you got to understand a little bit. People don't do that, and they're not gonna take the time. Yeah. It's just quick, couple seconds, judgment.
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
You show me who's changing people's mind on social media, and I'll start responding to negative comments. Because as far as I know, nobody's getting their mind changed about how they feel about things. Like most of the time when people go to comment on anything, positive or negative, it's because you've made your mind up about what you're about to interact with. I like this. Here's your comment. I hate this. Here's your comment. You know, I don't know how I feel about this. Here's your comment. Either way, I'm not going to have a discourse with you on Instagram and change your mind about what you came in to think. You know, like maybe I am, but the chances of that happening are, so I just keep it pushing. And, you know, like if you hate me, cool. Yeah. Sorry.
Say it to my face next time. It's crazy. Imagine if the comment section was real. Like over here, I'm just like, your dancing sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just right in front of you saying that. Nobody would ever do that.
Yeah. It would be like hanging out with your cousins, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Bro, you suck.
Your siblings, yeah. It's just, social media is such an interesting place. But this next question comes from Maddie_Wong.
Hey.
Shout out to our past podcast guest. So you already covered this right in the beginning, but I still want to read it just to shout out Maddie.
Yeah.
First question, who taught you how to surf at Kaiser Bowl? Second question, describe Lost at Sea in that era.
Wild. That's all I'll say. It's just wild. We're a bunch of young dudes that were just playing music, basically living out of cars and surfing like a couple times a day and just writing music and gigging. So yeah, that was a wild time. But you never teach me how to surf. Get lickings next time I see you.
You're lucky he was there to save you, Maddie, huh?
Yeah, that's why you never get cracked from Brada.
I gotta bring that up. He said when he comes back, he wants to take me on the boat and he wants to introduce me to his girlfriend because she was also in the Peace Corps.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, yeah. Maddie is the dude. Like a lot of people don't understand because I don't think it's as big here in Hawaii, but like Bassmasters is like, that's like the PGA of fishing. You know what I'm saying? And like, he's the first brother from Hawaii to be on that. Like that's major.
And
you know?
and excelling as well. Not just
on
player.
it. Yeah, no, not just on it. Like brother is in there swinging and I'm hella proud of him. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. Okay, next question comes from Tyler's Eclectic.
Yeah, that's the homie.
You know what it is. If you could rap out with one musician from history, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Rap out with one musician?
Yeah, from history, alive or dead.
Oh, Bob Marley, hands down. End of story. Easy.
That movie's coming out soon. Oh no, you don't want to watch it?
I just have a thing. Like here's my two things with it. One, the clips they showed. There's so many people that live in London that have amazing Jamaican accents, and Brada's patois is weak.
Oh, really?
His patois is weak. Secondly, Bob Marley got like 19 sons and like 38 grandsons. How did you not pick a Marley to play that role?
Yeah.
No hate to Brada, like it's cool, but like the thing that killed it for me, I was stoked when I first saw the preview, and then I heard his like take on Bob's voice, and like Bob's accent was just so thick when he spoke. You know, like I don't know. So for me, Bob, because in my personal opinion, he's one of the greatest songwriters to ever have lived. And if you look at the way he understood the world through his songs that he wrote and how they meant what they meant in the 70s and how they still hold up today is like.
And some of just his quotes about life, like the one about money, because if you keep chasing
I use
money,
that in a music video.
Yeah,
I have that
like,
as the intro. Yeah.
What was it?
What you think about money?
Yeah.
You have a lot of money. Yeah, money no buy your happiness. You know, that one, you know. And it's like some people are so poor, money's all they got.
Yeah.
He's that's that dude, man. When you talk about songwriting, like the man has written, you know, like the stuff that he's written as far as his body of work and the amount of songs that he did in that time. Like there's a reason they killed Homeboy.
Yeah. He saw too much.
Yeah. Brother was too locked into what he was doing, and he was changing the world.
Yeah. You had your Rastafari.
Yeah.
I saw the dreads.
Yeah, I had locks for about 9 years. Yep. That was a process, a journey. I got them right after my daughter was born, and went through a phase. I was always very like, you know, clean cut, pretty boy action kind as I was older. Because I was a fat kid growing up. And then so I had my
Your
clean
glow up.
Yeah, my clean cut phase after the Marine Corps. And then as I was going through my healing process, some of the good brothers was talking to me about like the humbling phase and stuff when you're growing locks. And I wanted to experience that and go through that. And I did, and it was rough. and then they come super pretty, and I love them, but it's just a lot of day-to-day work in the Western world, you know? Like if I was out like on Big Island, you know, like Mango Man, like just out in the, just out on the Aina. Yeah, just out on the Aina every day, and I could wash them every day. But like when you working like regular job, especially like in construction, and you get sawdust all in there, it like takes weeks to get out. And you know, like you go Sandy's and you're scraping sand out of your locks for like 2 weeks. But yeah, I had that phase. But yeah, I think to me, Bob, and that's because like most reggae music, I feel like to me is almost like worship music. Like the way it's written and the way that it comes across is like praise.
Music for the soul.
Yep.
Yep. I love that. That's a great answer. Next question comes from Ka_laser. This person says, which handsome farmer supplies all your veggies?
That would be, don't ask for a backhanded compliment or anything, bro. So that's my youngest brother, Calais, who is the owner of Ho'io Acres, and he is our produce provider. So he went through the Go Farm Hawaii program. Okay. He has his own plot in Nalo, and then he basically provides like all of our microgreens, all of our herbs, and all of
everything 7-Eleven doesn't provide.
Anything that 7-Eleven New Valley doesn't have, then I get it from Calais. So it's
well, shout out to you, Calais.
My whole cabinet is just like Bush's baked beans and then fresh stuff from Nalo.
Hey, you're trying to balance it out.
Right.
The two different side of the spectrums.
I'm just waiting for you to grow Kalo next, Calais. Thank you.
Okay, next question comes from KCO20. Can we get a cookbook and each recipe is paired with a song?
Yes, we are working on that.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And I had no clue how hard it is to produce a cookbook, and so I started looking into it. And it requires a ton of compilation of photos, shots, staging. So yes, it's something we're working on. We are looking to grow a little more first because it's also a very expensive endeavor. But it is something that is on the docket that I absolutely want to do because music is such a huge part. I want to give people like I don't want to give away the names we want to use, but yeah, we have some very cool ideas, and that's on the list, but it's gonna take some time. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can we do a collab one day? Keep it Aloha's counter.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, okay. Because it makes sense. Yeah. And this next question comes from a guy who also loves the word aloha. Ikaika aloha.
My
Shout
boy.
out to you.
Shout out, my brother.
Yeah, he keeps asking me when he's gonna be on the podcast, but I tell him keep working,
keep grinding, and
Yeah.
if you don't follow him, that's a young Kanaka that's doing a lot of dope
Very
stuff
passionate.
for his generation and for his age bracket of people. How locked in my little bro is. Like, I love that kid, man. I think he is super smart, and if he keeps grinding, like he's gonna do good things for our people.
Yeah,
like I believe that 100%.
He helps us out with our nonprofit, so he does
That's awesome.
some content with us.
Yeah.
But he wants to know, after all your travels, which country's food was better than you thought it was going to be?
Which country's food? I don't know if I ever thought anywhere was gonna have like particularly bad food.
Mm.
I can't think of anywhere that had like where I went in with the expectation of it being bad and it ended up being good. But I can tell you that goat's milk and like old goat meat in 130-degree weather in the Middle East is not the greatest food from the West. Like, I don't want to knock anybody's indigenous food choices, but there's certain customs over there where you can't refuse things or it can cause some problems in situations. And yeah, I to this day won't touch goat's milk because it was that bad. Like, that was probably the gnarliest experience, but I can't think of anywhere where like I went there expecting it to be bad and it was actually really ono.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my favorite places to this day, just probably because I spent so much time back and forth through there, is Mexico. Like, Mexico. And he was just there. He knows. Wow, Mexico is fire food. Like, the seafood. The seafood, the street food. Like, bro, Mexicans, those brothers and sisters can cook.
Yeah, our amigos and amigas in Mexico. All right. Next question comes from Miss Manu 808. This person wants to know, what's your favorite comfort food / meal to cook?
Probably favorite meal to cook. Comfort food, I'd probably go with probably like eggs Benedict with like short ribs or something. Or the tried and true standard. I know like some people don't like it, but that's how good my fried rice is. It's like fried rice with like 4 eggs, like fully loaded, because I put lapchong, spam, bacon, and like terry beef, in my fried rice. So, and then like 3 over easy eggs on top. Like, for me, that's just, I can.
I love.
I can like, you ever been Mitsuken in Kalihi?
Yes.
So Mitsuken, for all the OGs, Mitsuken used to have this 550 plate where it's like 3 like fat golf ball sized pieces of garlic chicken, fried rice, 3 pieces bacon, and 2 over easy eggs. Chicken. Bro, it was so bomb. Used to be able to grab it before you'd go surf or go out, eat half, leave it in the car, come out, eat half, and be full twice.
Because it's in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like that fried rice for me. If I'm making it, but like, some places it just tastes like oil and rice. But yeah, fried rice is one of my like
home cooked.
But if I'm like trying to be fancy and I want like something that's like, I love eggs Benedict.
Okay.
So
from where?
Cafe Calaves is my in Kaneohe. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think I drove.
Okay, so I have to.
It's in that little tiny shopping center, right?
It's where I think was TJ's before or something. It was an old plate lunch place before.
Yeah, I remember I had a massage at the place above it. I think.
Right.
And then there's Adela's across the street, which is Adela's.
But
unreal.
bro, okay, I gotta shout out Cafe Calave right there because they've supported me for a long time.
Nice.
Bro, they get, first of all, Saturdays and Sundays they get Hawaiian music and hula while you eat. Amazing. Family owned. Amazing people. Secondly, kid you not, bro, I can make fire corned beef hash patties. This is the most nuts corned beef hash Benedict. Like, they have like a corned beef hash Benedict that is mental.
Okay.
Like, I don't care where
I
you
gotta
are
go
on the
try. I
island,
gotta
like
go
go
try.
Cafe Kalave and
Wait,
Kaneohe.
where is it at? Where's it at?
So it's
Am I
like
thinking
right
of the
after you
same
turn
place?
past like where the T-Mobile is and that next the next shopping center. Like you know,
Okay.
like where like the police station is and you turn right. Well, we'll look up the street.
Okay.
If you can look it up.
I've seen it
Kalave.
before. I'm trying to think if it's in person or just on social.
Yeah, William Henry Road, right there. Shout out the
okay.
Fofo.
Yeah, Fofo. We got.
Yeah.
You know who's coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
To record an episode.
About a cruise.
Fofo.
Hey, you know he raps.
That's and pretty solid. Yeah, I've seen
Pretty
his stuff.
solid.
Yeah, pretty
yeah,
solid.
He pretty solid.
Yeah. So that's gonna be another good episode.
Oh, battle dog. Nah.
I know, right? He's actually standing right in the back there. Come
Let's
on,
go. Nah, that's the homie. I known him since the music days too.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool learning about all these past
Coconut
histories.
connections.
Yeah. Okay, next question comes from another germ. Does
Okay.
Jeremy make a better smash burger than you? LOL.
Absolutely not. I don't even know who you are, Germ. Nah, that's one of the homies that just constantly hates on my smash burger because he thinks he can cook it better. And there's nobody to verify that because he only cooks it for himself. So I don't know who we're asking here, Germ.
Okay, so we call that a hater.
Yeah. Oh, see, I didn't have to say it, Germ.
Okay. Next one comes from your brother, Kenji Walks. How does one translate creativity? Music to food to dance to whatever's next.
I don't know how to word that nicely. The way I would call it is, like I was saying earlier, is go through the process of creativity and put yourself to the work of like figuring out inception of an idea, working towards the completion of the idea and seeing it through to being released into the world. Because I always say, like, with creativity, right? There's your creativity and there's creativity. Creativity is this. This is going out to the world. If we recorded a bunch of these and it's just you and him seeing them and no one else, that's your creativity. Because no one else is interacting with it. They're not judging it. That's the beautiful and unfortunate part about any art form, right? Is like, it's not art until you release it for it to be seen. Other than it's just doodles. It could be the most beautiful picture in the world, you know? But at the end of the day, it's not that until others are involved in it.
It's like aloha.
Yeah.
Aloha is in aloha until it's given.
Which is the weird concept of art, right? But so I guess the way I would break it down is that I use the concept of the faucets being on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got taught a long time ago that you're going to have, as a creative, you're going to have these moments where it feels like both faucets are on and it's just, the ideas are just pouring in. Write everything down, voice notes, everything, you know? Because there's going to be times where you go to purposely be creative and it's doot, doot. That creative drip is literally just that. It's a drip. So that's one of the things I love my phone for the most, you know? It's like any moment that an idea comes up, voice notes, boom, scene, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, cut to, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, this transition, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Here's the song. Here's how we're going to intro it. Like you can put a framework for so much creativity just with your phone in your car while you have to sit in traffic anyways. So
yeah, I have my notes on my phone is just filled with a bunch of poems and rhymes and stuff like that. I used to do post poems to YouTube.
Yes.
Back in the day.
What do we got? We got something today? Or we?
Oh no, a long time ago. I got some pretty good. One of my, I think I can remember bars. I don't rap or whatever. It's my creativity. I don't really share it, but I know one line that comes to my head. I think it's like, I put action in my words. That's why I add verbs. So much meaning behind my sentences. You could have sworn they had curves. I try not to get big-headed like Zordon, because if I'm a humble brag, I'll just look like an oxymoron.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
We did one. I love that too. I think all of that creative writing, man, just writing it out, getting it out. Like, anything that we can do with that. That's what I say is like work through the creativity, you know? Like, I just feel like it's like working out.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you make it a part of your life and the more you do with it and it just becomes like reflex, it's just going to become more and more familiar, like anything else.
Yep.
And I think that's like in any way that you do it. Like, I really think that like the more you do this, it's going to make you more comfortable in other ways of creating that you don't even know about yet, that you might find out about next year, 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
But doing this practice regularly is going to make you better at other things that you don't even know yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that. I say the same thing where it's just like all the past things that I've done, like working at a movie theater, coaching, soccer, whatever, like the things that I'm doing, I learn, I got attributes from all the other stuff. Like, yeah, I don't make popcorn over here, but I learned to work with people. You know, I coach soccer and I don't coach little kids, but I learned how to be a leader. You know, there's all these things that you can take from all these things that we do.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so last question, and I had to ask this one because I'm sure people want to know. Ray Sensei says, how's Bruno doing? Haha.
He's great. He's on a world tour right now.
Were you in Japan with everybody else?
No, I was too busy working. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, I saw.
He's always great. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's a great brother. He's a great family man, you know. He's done amazing things for me and my family that I love him for. And I think he's, as a musician, like as a creative person, like not him being my brother, and just seeing his level even from the family distance, like I truly think he's one of the greats. Like as 100%. as a person who's a music geek,
just
like
so talented.
Yeah,
I knew that when I saw the SNL skit of him doing that radio stuff. Do you remember that one?
I mean, he's funny as hell, but I'm talking about just on the music side of like his arranging.
He had to do impersonations.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, holy smokes, he's like killing it.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah. As far as that, like B's always gonna be good. He's probably one of the most talented people to come along since Prince or Michael, and I'll stand on that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Do you wanna just give a quick like synopsis of like how you're related to this person?
I don't want to. People can figure that out on their own. We got Google. I don't need that. I don't. I'm not gonna invite that. If you want to figure out how,
do you get that a lot? Like, do people always say that?
It puts a lot of pressure on situations, especially when you're doing certain levels of business. It was much more pressure in the music industry because obviously that's his world, you know. But yeah, I mean, people are weird, bro. People are weird, you know, and like there's just some people that cannot get around that fact, and they're just weirdos for it, you know. Like just their whole interaction with you will be weird, you know, and like they'll do extra weird things because they know that information. And I've just seen it too many times. Like I've seen it too many times where it's like there's an interaction, this person's cool, they find that information out, and then they're like weird as crap, and they're like, oh, that's whack. Because it's not like I'm gonna be your conduit to that. Yeah, I'm not gonna fulfill those dreams of connecting you with him. So yeah, I just like, if people figure it out, it's cool, you know. But because Google exists, but I don't ever put that on Front Street. Yeah. Okay. I love the dude though. He's a great human. And he's always been a good brother-in-law to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go, Ray. He's good. Mahalo, everybody, for the social media fan questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest, and maybe your question will make it on the podcast.
Yee.
All right. So we're coming to the back end of the podcast, and
yes, sir.
I like to ask people at this point what the meaning of keep it aloha means to them. Like in their life, how do you keep it aloha?
All right. So for me, keep it aloha means action. And that's something that I saw my tutu and my mom both walk out a lot. One of the things that my tutu would always tell me is that being Hawaiian is not some construct of like your blood quantum or what you know, or necessarily how much knowledge. Not that those things are bad. Those are obviously great things to attain. But one day, Hawaiian's not gonna look like anything. That's just a fact. The fact is, the look of Hawaiian is already very, very varied, you know?
Look at us.
Right. Exactly. And, she looked full Hawaiian. She was very dark hair, dark features. But me, 3 generations removed from her, looks like me. My daughters are also Hawaiian. We're not getting more full-blooded Hawaiians in the world. So the look, right? The face value of this person holds aloha in them can only come from action. So if your action is to care for others, to try to teach that in the people that you are tasked with leading in your life, and give that mana'o onto them, into your children, into your friends, into your family group, and that action goes back out into the world, right? Because the root of the word is love, essentially, right? Like that's the bigger meaning of that word, is love. And it's part of my namesake that comes from my family line, And love sometimes is not just flowery and all ooey gooey rom-com.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Sometimes love is being the only friend that will tell the truth in the room. Sometimes love is being the only person who will do us right when nobody else is looking, But a lot of times what love is just being the person that's willing to be out in the front and try to lead and set an example of like, we can do this. We're all here together. And try to be one of the ones that's ignoring all the noise. Because every stage and phase of life, no matter what you do, there's going to be a lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of noise telling you can't do it. There's going to be a lot of noise telling you you're not good enough. There's going to be a lot of noise telling you you're great. You got to kind of try to cut through the noise to the actual love. Because the same way that verb works as a positive, there's going to be a lot of people that use that term to tell you they aloha you, and they don't, So cutting through the noise to find out through the experience of action what aloha is. And you learn that through all those different actions. You learn that through heartbreak. You learn that through wins, you learn that through perseverance. You learn that from service, and thinking of others before yourself. You learn that in all those things. So when you see it, aloha, in its realest form, no matter how much flour somebody like put around it, if they're not actually aloha, seen you before, bro. Seen you before, And you can just smile and keep it moving. But at the same time, like, I just feel like action in all its many facets of aloha is what is going to keep what Hawaiian looks like alive. Because if we can have a framework around aloha, right? And aloha can maintain alive. It doesn't matter the melanin changes or facial structure that happens in the mixing of all us Hawaiians throughout the world, right? There's still going to be aloha there that's recognizable as soon as you see it. As soon as you see that aloha, you're like, that's aloha, bro.
Yeah.
That brother get plenty aloha. And I feel like you can already see that, right? There's people you meet them, you're like, brah, that brother is aloha, bro. I like that guy, that chick.
It's one of the best compliments you could get if somebody tells
oh,
tells
sister,
you that.
she's so major, and people can feel it off you. So yeah, in that very long-winded statement, it's action to me, And it's, the way I like to say it is, it's the work that never finishes, right? There's no arrival point.
Yeah.
You don't get to do X amount and then one day I am the aloha guru now.
I achieved aloha.
I achieved maximum aloha, It's something where it's like you have to understand that you're constantly in the practice of that and doing better at it and making more of it. Otherwise, you just revert. It's just like the healing, the practice of healing and going through that stuff. You never get to just give up on it and put it down.
Yeah.
The work is always going to continue, but it's good work, The initial lift might be heavy, The initial lift might be heavy of how do I put action behind aloha? That initial lift might be real hard. But as you do the work more, it's going to get...
It becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Same way, like, okay, you go on a diet that eventually ends, it fades away. If you do something and you turn into a lifestyle, then just the same way you wake up to brush your teeth, you're waking up and choosing aloha.
Yep.
It's just innate. It's something that it's like autonomous at some point.
Real talk, bro.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
all. Yeah. I 100% feel that.
Yeah, that's why I believe in some ways that, because like your tutu said, like Hawaii's not gonna have a look, is that we need to make it into a lifestyle that when people see us, they're like, that person is Hawaiian. That person, or at least living in the Hawaiian ways, that person is living with Aloha. Because you could be the darkest Hawaiian looking person and you're not doing anything that's Aloha,
Right.
or you're not doing anything that contributes to our lahui, then I'm gonna cut myself out there before I get canceled again. But you guys know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just action. And I think it's hard because everybody has a different definition of what that action should be and where it should lead. And that's where leadership and talking has to come into play. But nobody ever grew or got anywhere by tearing down what someone else is trying to build.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the age-old phrase of, you are never going to hear somebody that's doing better than you turn around and say, hey, you suck. Nobody that's doing better than you, that's ahead of you or where you want to be or achieving or treating folks how you want to treat them, they're never going to turn back at you. It's always the people that are next to you or below you that are saying, you suck, you know? And if we can train more people to try to want to grow others out of that, especially people within our lahui to do that, great. But again, people got to want to.
Yeah, I agree. And when you take away the ethnicities and all of that, and when we talk about Aloha, we're just talking about being a kind, good person, just being a good human.
Right.
That's really what we're talking about. Like, everybody can have different definitions of what Aloha is, but the core of it is just kindness.
Right.
Like you said, love. So whether you're in the South,
yep,
and you want to call it Southern hospitality instead of Aloha,
yep,
as long as the core is love, the core is kindness, the core is respect for others, then that's Aloha. Yeah.
Yep.
So beautiful, super beautiful. All right. So in your almost 40 years of life,
yes,
what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned as you reflect to 4 decades?
Biggest lesson. Your ego will destroy you if you let it. Ego will ruin your mind. It will ruin friendships. It will ruin relationships. It will ruin opportunities. And I feel like I see a more rampant version of it than I've ever witnessed in my time here on this earth. And I speak that from experience of having a period of time where it was unchecked and unhinged. And it's just so unhealthy, the amount that it will do to you, you know? And learning the sources that you need to go to keep that in check and to train that to be a net positive for you. Because it can be a very helpful tool in navigating situations and keeping you pushing in certain things, right? But it can also be overfed to the point where it becomes the Hulk just raging through a china shop, you know, with no conscience, no vision of anything. And it's just destroying. And that's probably my biggest lesson as far as my life goes. And then secondly, it would closely behind that is that you're just here for a moment and you don't know who's going to be gone. You know, I've lost a lot of people over the years, more than most people will in a lifetime by quite a bit. And don't just let this world let you count things as time in the bank, because you don't know, you know, people are gone like that and your time with them is over, you know? Try to minimize the small crap, you know, try to not, as we say, the manini stuff, let them go and try to treasure it if you can. It's very hard. It's a hard practice. I even still struggle with it, you know, like keeping aware that time with people is limited. At the same time, we're all busy. We got a billion things to finish. You don't have any, first is keep your ego in check. Secondly, try to remember that you don't know you're going to get that next hangout with brother.
Mhm.
You don't know you're going to get that next with him, or a chance to play music or sit for one beer,
Mhm.
take the time.
So along those lines of checking your ego, appreciating people, there's sometimes in life where you have these broken relationships, or sometimes a spat with somebody that it just goes unfixed, unhealed for a really long time. When you're able to check your ego and get to a point where you don't want to take anything for granted, do you then reach out to people to fix certain situations, or like ho'oponopono, or do you think you just let it go? What do you think?
I think it depends on where you're at, because going back to love, I think it looks a lot differently and each person's in a different place, right? One brother's journey of checking ego might start at the baseline of, bro, I never palm brother out and I'm not in prison and he's not in the hospital. That's good. That's a net positive start. Maybe you can't jump straight to ho'oponopono with brother and it's all good. Maybe it had to start with, brother's not in the hospital, I'm not in jail. That's still better baseline than what the original outcome could have been. And I think that as you go through that and you learn, I think that that is the ultimate end goal, right? But the thing that a lot of people forget about that is it still takes two people. You still got to have two people involved in that. So just as much as you are coming to that, to ho'oponopono, that person has to be in the same headspace. And that's a lot of times where the problem is. And then that's where ego comes back into play, is you're checking it and you're saying, okay, I forgive you. You don't have to apologize to me. We'll just keep it pushing, But at the same time, I think that's the hard part, because a lot of times it's not going to work out where both parties are in it. And that's where I think love sometimes can be setting the boundaries for people. Because if somebody shows to you over and over again that they don't value you, they don't value the energy that you're putting into the things you're doing, they don't truly want to see you win, and they keep telling you with their mouth that they love you, but their actions are saying otherwise, you don't have to hate them. You don't have to make a big fight. You just need to put a boundary there and say, look, okay, boom. And that is actually love and checking ego, I think. Because what's going to happen if you don't do that? Oil and water, you're going to clash. It's going to be a big fight. And then it's going to be one of those family blowout things, right? That we've all seen as local people. So while we don't do that, right? What is local people? We cannot do that. That's your family. So they should be held to the highest standard, right? And if they're not willing to be held to the highest standard, then I think personally, for the individual, especially if you have your own ohana to take care of, you have to set those boundaries and say, like, look, this is the bound. Like, we gotta at least have this as the baseline. And if you guys cannot do that, then I gotta have this boundary here. And I've been through that, bro. That'll get you a lot of heat and nobody's gonna agree with you. But guess what? You and your family will be better off for it,
Yeah, that's a tough situation. But yeah, mahalo for sharing that. I want to know, what is something in your life or about you that you take a lot of pride in? Because I feel like you have a lot of things to be proud of. But I want to know, what is something that you really appreciate about yourself and you take a lot of pride in? Because I feel like you've lived like so much life.
I feel like this is kind of negative, but it's something all my friends know, that I am something that I don't know if I'm necessarily, I don't know if it would be pride, but I'm happy I have it. I suffer really well. Like I can, not like I'm like some perfect specimen of suffering or anything, but like I've just been through enough stuff that I know how to lock in when it's like bad, and I can just.
You're good at doing hard things.
Just keep going, like, and obviously that's served in like different aspects, but yeah, that's probably the thing that I feel most like I don't know if the feeling would even be pride, but it's the thing I feel like most secure about in knowing, because of the things I've been through and the way my limits have been tested in different things. I know that about myself as a man, that if things get a certain way, I can lock in and we'll get through this, you know?
That's awesome. I feel the same. I think just because when you go through so much discomfort and you put yourself in situations where you need to figure out how you're gonna get out of it.
Right.
And people, you do that in different situations, like as intense as going to Iraq, or just like living abroad with no running water, no electricity, walking 8 hours just to get somewhere after like getting stuck in a cyclone or something like that, you know? So those situations that really test your limits and show you like, okay, this is what I'm about. And it's like, oh wait, I'm not even testing my limits. There are no limits.
Right.
Like I am
To an
capable of
extent.
literally
Yeah.
doing anything.
Yeah. That's I feel like and I also feel like that can be a double-edged sword.
Oh yeah, like you get injured and you're still running on your injured knee.
Right.
Stuff like
But
that.
also even in I mean, like in the mental aspect is like,
Mhm.
you get locked in that scenario, and then you telling yourself, well, I've been locked in so long, why isn't X working, or why is the situation not changing? And I think that's where being able to hang on that little bit extra longer, you know, like if you can, because I feel like everybody goes through that, right? If you're in a tough situation, whether it's like a season of life or a specific time period, or even just like a morning or a workout or something, right? If you can lock into your head and get past, your mind always does that protection mechanism, right? Where it tells you like, we need to go. If you can just, we'll be all right. Like we can survive this, you know, like we can survive this. And that's something that hard things are really good for, you know. Hard things are really good for reminding you that your mind does betray you a lot. Yeah, your mind will betray you a lot. So yeah, I would say that that's probably the thing I'm most secure in as a man, that like I know when it comes to taking care of the people around me, like I can handle a lot of stress and things that they bring. Like I can allow a lot of people in my life to put a lot on my plate and still carry forward.
You can bend a lot without ever breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that Goggins mentality side. When most people's 100%, they think they're at 100%, they're only giving 40%. You can go so much more.
I think that's the thing though, right? Is that always knowing in your mind, like trying to squeeze that last bit out. Cause I feel like no matter what I do, I always feel like that. Like I got it. I know there's more in there. I just am not, I don't know where it is yet. So how do we find the more in there, you know?
Yeah. So how are you going to take all these life experiences and continue to do what you're going to do? What is the end game here? What is your future goals? Where do you see yourself in like 10, 15, 20 years? Even shorter, 5 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now.
Tomorrow. I don't know.
Right now, it's just honestly continuing trying to build a structure that allows me to continue to try to just buy back more time with my kids and my family. You know, like that's really what matters to me, is just being around the people I love the most. And also at the same time, like I'm a creative. So like I got to do stuff like that. I can't just do one thing, you know? So I'm always going to be doing that. But I would say like the ultimate goal is the wealth of just being, the wanting to have wealth to be able to just buy back more of my time, you know, like the less times that I have to leave to go do this and take care of that and work here and work there, that's just more moments that I get to bank before I'm gone, you know? And to me, that's the ultimate goal, is to just bank those moments as much as we can.
Yeah. Banking time instead of money.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a world where you need the both to do it. So that makes it really hard. But yeah, I mean, that would be, if you had the magic wand and it's like, yeah, just take care of what I need so that I can spend maximum amount of time with my peoples, and hopefully allow more of my peoples to have that same freedom, you know? But that's the ultimate goal for anything I do. And And as far as like the creative stuff, what I learned a long time ago when I was going through this stuff in the music industry is that I'm not gonna ever just put like uh I don't put like waypoints on it anymore. Like I learned that I can work to my utmost capacity as hard as I can on something and give it everything I got without needing to say like that's where we need to go. And until we hit this, this is not success. And I've learned that along the way that I might be going there, but it might be down over here. It's the same distance. And this might be the vehicle that's only carrying me halfway. And then I might gotta change vehicles. And learning to be okay with that, because I've been through the experience of thinking I'm taking this vehicle from here to the moon, baby. And then when that bad boy broke down halfway, I was in a deep, dark place. And I think a lot of people go through that, you know? So being flexible to that knowing that I'm gonna give this my all, I'm gonna push it, I'm gonna go hard, I'm gonna be accountable to myself into what this thing is. And then if that vehicle or thing should change to where the destination or even the destination itself, we still know that this is success because this is what it was always meant to be.
Yeah. Awesome. What about in terms of your like identity and your security in who you are as an ethnic person? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you're at the point where you want to be? Are there still insecurities?
I don't have any insecurities because for me, first and foremost, I'm a child of God. So I don't have any insecurities about who I am under the sun, you know? I love being Hawaiian and it makes me very proud. Like I said, like this, I have felt like so much of what I have put myself through in life, I've been able to like get through it because I felt like I had Hawaii on my back and that will never change, you know? I brought my kids back here. Like this place is special. I love this place, you know? I hope to be sprinkled here one day, you know? But I'm not gonna allow anything outside of who God made me to be and the journey that I'm on to make me feel less than. I'm not gonna have an identity crisis about what brother's doing over here or what sister's doing over there. I'll make myself available and I'll look for the ways that this journey is gonna open me up to service and to malama people and to care for and to love on people, which is what I feel I was put here to do. But I'm not gonna allow someone else's journey to give me an identity crisis about who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing here, you know? Not for my people, not on this earth, not for my family, nothing, you know? I'm not gonna allow anybody else's journey to give me an identity crisis. And I think more people, not in a disrespectful way, you know, I'm not saying that like screw what someone else is doing. I'm saying I wanna figure out how I can be the most impactful and render the most aloha and lead people up and teach people and make people better. That's how I was led by some of my greatest leaders. And I was taught leadership is that you lead from the front and you bring people up to where you're at. You know, you don't sit down and tell them go. And so for me, I have daughters I'm raising. And like I was saying earlier, I got to be the template. I'm not going to allow them to have identity crises over who they are because of what anybody else says. They're going to know, you know? And I think that's important for everyone.
Yeah.
That you cannot have that identity crisis because of what someone else is going through, you know? You see it a lot in a ton of different examples nowadays. Every day on social media, someone is having an identity crisis to their phone live feed because they're allowing what others, people and things that think around them. And I think that if you focus on the impact, what you are made for, what you are made to do, and that purpose, I don't need to worry about that.
Nice. I hope everybody can get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you don't ever like. It's not like you don't question it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's not like
like,
some guru
you
level
don't
of like.
waver
Yeah, it's just that I won't allow it to get to that point, right? You're gonna have those days where things are tough and you question and you wrestle with it, but wrestling and the identity crisis, right? Like one of my leaders had this amazing thing he used to always say is that confidence and pridefulness draw thin lines. So there's a very thin line between the confidence for yourself and being overly prideful where you misstep, but you got to try to.
That's like controlling your ego in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to try to ride that line. And yes, it's going to be hard, but if you can set the baseline of like, we're not going to freak out,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that it would do more people well to not allow others to throw them into identity crisis of who they are.
Sure. Yeah. And then beyond that, at the end of the day, who cares what people think?
They're not paying your bills.
Yeah. It really just comes down to what you think about yourself and how you're serving yourself, or
and the legacy that you leave. Yeah.
Or if you believe in a higher power, God, then how you're serving God or the universe or whatever else people believe in. Try to touch on everything.
There should be something above you, hopefully.
Yeah.
For all people. Even if I'm not trying to make anybody believe what I believe, what I'm saying is that, like, if you are the end all be all of your universe, then I hope that you rethink that.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Because in my experience, it's really just gonna make you feel crazier than you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think you're in control of all of this, I can't imagine that stress.
Yeah, awesome. What is something you wish people knew about you that they don't?
I don't know if I'm not out as much, but I'm actually really, really friendly. Like I would get this all the time. Like people would be like, "Oh, I saw you out, but I didn't want to say hi because you seem kind of like da da da, like, or stuck up or something." Like I have
tunnel vision,
exit brain. I am always looking for my exits wherever I am. I'm like assessing the situation. I'm never just like chilling.
Jason Bourne.
No, I'm not Jason Bourne, but I just have that hardwired in my brain. So I guess
I don't. Jason Bourne.
I don't know what my face looks like out in public, but I'm actually really friendly. I might look like I am high makas. I'm not at all. I'm never trying to put that off.
Your makas is focused.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I've had plenty of people be like, "Oh, brah, I'm surprised. I got to tell you, I thought you was high makas." Cause I was like, okay, sorry. That's something that I've had multiple people over the years. I've had lots of people tell me like, "Oh yeah, I thought you was like kind of high makas." So I never like said what's up to you when I seen you. And I'm just like, bro, I'm not like that at all. I don't know why I come off like that, but
maybe it's the huge truck that you drive and the gold chain. Maybe that's what it is.
This is easily the tiniest gold chain on Oahu right now.
Well, yeah, because you got the big truck. From my wife. Yeah. So with the big truck and the big chain would just be overdoing it. That's excessive.
Right.
So you're trying to balance it out.
I try to, all balance.
That's a good one though. All right.
No, I'm friendly. I'm super nice.
Yeah, I can attest to that. He's super cool. Except off the podcast when he tried to beat me up.
Yeah,
because
I threw a rock at him
stepped in front of him by accident. I scuffed his Vans. Okay, so do you have a life hack you want to share with us before we end the podcast?
Yeah. Be of service. Find a way to be of service to others and those around you, and find your purpose through that. I truly believe that if you find your purpose by going outside of yourself and learning to be of service to those in your community, to those in your family, to the people around you, you are going to find a purpose that is so much deeper than any singular personal want or gain. Like you might gain a lot through serving self, but I promise you that is not your purpose for being on this planet. And I think that if you can walk through the process of being of service to others and learning to just try to look for ways to, even when it's hard, take that little bit of extra load on, it's going to change things about you, and it's going to make you find a purpose, I think, that is the one that will keep you from questioning it at all.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And for me, the final hack is stay prayed up,
Mm-hmm.
man. Pray and just try to find a way to make it about something more than you,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I love that you said that, because I feel like that's how I found my purpose. Was I wanted to join the Peace Corps because I wanted to do something bigger than myself, bigger than Hawaii. Like, I've always loved helping out people, and I got so much help and support throughout my whole life. So when I went there, I just realized I love making people smile. I love connecting with people. I love helping out. So when I finished the Peace Corps, I didn't know what to do. So this is how I came up with the idea of the Race to 50K, of paying off all my student loans, because my parents were saying I should be a flight attendant, or I should do something else. And I was thinking, well, I don't know. I have all these skills, and I know I can connect with people. What if I just like help people and ask them, what can I help you with? So that's how I created that idea of like, I'm not gonna have any jobs, but I'm gonna ask people, what can I do to help you help me? So I just did odd jobs. I made a video saying like, hey, this is my goal, and if you need something, contact me. And I did over like 300 different odd jobs, and it was all based on just helping others.
Yeah.
Because and I didn't charge anything. It was all donation based, because I knew that whether you give me $5 or $100, whatever you can afford, at the end of the day, I'm stoked because I got to help you.
Right.
And then that led into my business Hawaiiverse, which is to help local businesses, to do this podcast, which is to help spread these stories and talk story with people and connect people. So it all started with the Peace Corps.
Yep.
Because that was the biggest
First
service.
steps, baby.
Yeah.
First steps.
I would say I'm living proof of what he just said about the life hack.
Yeah.
Is
That's
find
amazing.
something to be of service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's too much for it to just be about you.
Yeah.
You got to make it about other people and the people around you. And
Mm-hmm.
we got a lot of examples of that in our culture, in our ancestors' history. There's a lot of very selfless people that we can look to. And I think that, I mean, that's what I would say it is for me, brother.
Yeah, I love it. And I can't wait to see what else you put out and the other amazing things you continue to do, because you've only had your platform for a year with Kealoha's Counter.
Right.
And yeah, I know that it's already high quality. It sends a strong message. Your dancing is amazing.
We said that we were gonna we had joked about this, so I brought this ready for you, and this is something that we did.
Are you about to rap for us?
I'm not gonna rap
for Rolling Stone right now.
I'm not gonna rap. I'm not gonna rap, but we're gonna do something that we did for the Mauna, that we wrote, or that I wrote, and I thought it would be good because it can live on here if you want to clip it or whatever.
Nice.
And then if not, we'll just take it out.
Is it like a spoken word?
Yeah,
thing? I watched your one, Changes.
Oh, okay.
I like that one. Yeah.
So this one goes, see now Babylon will lift you high, but then you'll fizzle and you'll die. You see, the effect is like a butterfly. They take a little section size of your inner precious side, and then they tell you testify, like they made you better, like they ain't bring the genocide, culture killing pesticide. Man, I swear the best disguise was claiming it was Jesus while flipping faith, while they cheat and lie. Why they love to see Kapuna cry, and while I see the sacred desecrated, I can see that all you see is dollar signs. Little slice of pizza size, APPLE Americana pie. Well, see, that's the dream you sold. But see, the thing is we grown, and what you feeding my folks, bro, we ain't eating no more. So up my mountain I go, bang this one time for my folks. This that indigenous dope, digital hope to bring the fire, boy, and lift up your soul. How nani trash type facts for the ignorant and slow, indignant to that illiterate fact. The fact is we used to using the scaring the tactics you used to using just to make us and scare us to act. Now it's Act 2, Live 2, your cellular phone via app. You can watch in live, see us selling our home for some cash. Son she raised like e-gays lost their way on the path. Nothing more than just vultures of culture and craft, cashing in on Aloha, all for some sales and some cash. We just kapu Aloha and we leave it to Yahweh. Y'all keep coming through. cutting up flags and burning down hollies. And I left some parts out there because it's really long, and I didn't want to make it too long. But yeah,
No, that was awesome. I love the odes to some of the people. Even the APPLE part. I had to think about it a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. So we just
It's good flow. It was solid flow.
Yeah. That was something I wrote. I was moved to write while we was up there, and then I just ran with it, and I figured you could just cut it out if it doesn't fit, because
No, of course we'll leave it in. Awesome. I'm actually gonna AI that, where it's gonna be you speaking, but it's gonna be over my face and mouth, so everybody's gonna think it's me saying it, and it's gonna make me look really cool.
Now I have to look at my notes because I have artist irritation that I know I messed up part, and I need to know what part I messed up. Yep, there it is. Okay.
You got him.
Yep.
Well, we would never know that you messed up.
But now I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, mahalo for sharing that. That was a great way to end the podcast. I just have my last fast fave 5 questions. These are just rapid fire answers. Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
Favorite song to freestyle over?
Ooh, that's a tough one. One of the most favorite is probably by Try by 12, Carry by 6.
Ooh.
That's one of my favorites. Pretty much anything, man. Like, I just love the cipher. Anybody that knows me knows I love the cipher. So like,
I want to see it happen live. I love freestyle rapping. Even like the wild style. Was it Wild and Out? This like at the end, like even that.
Oh stuff. yeah.
But is it silly stuff?
Williams stuff.
Yeah, but then they also had like an actual rap battle thing on was it TNT like a couple years ago, or still going?
Oh,
but
the Netflix one, Hustle and Flow. Maybe. Yeah, that's where
that's so
that's
sick.
where D Smoke came out of. D Smoke.
I love it. And then I'll just watch stuff online, just people rap. It's so cool. But
that was where I cut my teeth, and I was raised in the cipher, and that's where I learned pretty much everything about hip hop. So like that, the cipher for me is like, I always love it. It's like going to your favorite, like if you grew up boxing, it's like going to your favorite home gym, and it's just like home. Like we get to work out and just.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about Harry Mack? You know who that is?
Harry Mack.
He's a guy who just, to me, one of the best freestyle rappers.
Oh, that's
ever.
the just, like, you
Jewish
give him brother.
You give him a word, and then he just freestyles, and then he has some bars.
Yeah, he's
like
crazy.
So
like his bars are crazy. Not my like cup of tea delivery wise, but yeah, he's got a crazy mind. Yeah, he got a crazy mind.
Crazy, yeah. I went to his concert here.
Oh, he like tours?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was just like a YouTube cat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's insane. Like,
yeah, he got them double fire bars.
And he just creates it on the spot. You just give him words, you give him topics, and he just creates it. So that's unreal. Next question. Favorite way to recharge?
Oh, just chilling, honestly. I feel like so much of life is like going in like intention. I mean, chilling can be anything, but yeah, I guess really just like purposeful rest, like relaxing with the fam, swimming. I would love to like get back into surfing again, like regularly, but every time that I think about going to jump in the water, so side note, I drove by Baby Mox the other day, and I swear to God, there was 45 people out.
It's been really good recently, that's why.
I know, but I've never seen that much people there before. I was like, what is going on?
You gotta come Kaiser Bulls.
Even Baby Mox is crowded now.
It is, pretty crowded. But you can go to some spot at certain times where it's all right. And if you're like better, you're like at the top of the totem pole, you can kind of like just claim your waves.
Claim your waves, yeah. I would not be there. But I mean, just really just purposeful rest, like not... I try to be good about not filling my downtime with the same level of stuff that I had. Like okay, we got this, because then you get through the downtime and you're like, I need a break from the downtime. you know?
Yeah.
So just like purposeful rest, and that looks different. I feel like week to week in the situation I'm in, you know, week to week, it looks different. Like what that looks like. Sometimes it's a family party, you know, sometimes it's, with all the aunties and uncles at the beach. Sometimes it's just kicking it at home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that. Favorite childhood snack?
Ooh. I would have to say Manapua Man fried noodles, bro. Manapua Man fried noodles was the GOAT for me. That was always my go-to with the char siu. Yeah, that's the one.
That's what you get
Hot
7-Eleven New
mustard.
Valley too, huh?
Yeah. I haven't seen them since I've been there. Since we moved there, I haven't seen
No way.
the
They
Manapua.
can't not have Manapuas at 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah, 7-Eleven.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I forgot we were big up New Valley 7-Eleven. Yep.
Yeah, this episode is sponsored by New Valley 7-Eleven.
Holla.
7-Eleven is actually a past sponsor for us, so shout out to them.
Sick.
We love them.
That's what's up.
Favorite vacation destination?
I have really wanted to go to a couple places in like the Alps and stuff and go snowboarding for years, and I've never been. I had like multiple season passes when I lived in Cali and used to snowboard like a ton. So I've wanted to go out there for years. That would be like a dream for me to go. Yeah, there's a place there, and then there's one, I think it might be in New Zealand, or is it Japan? I can't remember.
Japan's supposed to be good.
But there's a couple of them where like you're taking off at the summit and all you see is clouds because you're above the cloud cover.
Yeah.
That would be mental. I would
That's
like to
cool.
check that out.
I had an experience like that when I was in Canada last year snowboarding.
Yeah.
We went all the way to the top and we were like the last one up the lifts. And it was like already kind of getting dark. Kind of scary though. Because like you just see that and you're like, oh, we could get lost right now. But it was such a cool experience.
Oh, yeah. That would be definitely like on my dream. So like what's weird for me is like I love like living in Hawaii and not having to deal with the cold. But that's also what I miss most about the mainland. Like I should
You probably like dressing.
Like West Coast cold.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool with West Coast cold. Like I've experienced East Coast cold in the winter. No, thank you. Like, but West Coast cold, I'm cool. Like
I can wear a cool jacket.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know about you, but I'm Portuguese, Hawaiian, Irish, so I run hot, bro. Like if this is about the max I can ever wear unless I want to sweat.
Yeah.
You know, if I think about putting on like a windbreaker or something, it's over.
Yeah. It's funny. Okay, last one. Favorite TV show or movie?
One of my favorite movies, Guy Ritchie's one of my favorite directors.
Okay.
So one of my favorite movies is Snatch, and one of my favorite movies is Fury.
Oh, okay.
Both those are two of my favorite movies. My all-time like happy place, I actually used this movie as therapy when I got out of the military. It used to be like my sound machine. I would watch it every night. Before I went to bed, I would just put it on, is Rockers, Leroy Horsemouth Wallace.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's a very old reggae film. Gregory Isaacs in it, Peter Tosh. But there's an opening scene, and anybody that knows about Rockers will know exactly what I'm talking about. I will let you discover that on your own. So Rockers opening scene. It's a very Irie, just like soul healing intro. It's on YouTube. But that was like my all-time movie for like, I must have played that movie in the background while trying to fall asleep for like years, probably hundreds of times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then what was the next one?
Yeah, TV show or movie. Yeah.
Oh,
you wanted to answer that. Give you some options.
Yeah. I'd say movie. I'm more movies than TV shows.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a film person.
I go back and forth.
I like some shows, but yeah, like from memory, I feel like I don't retain shows as much as I do like movies that I love. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, well, that's all we have today. I just want to say mahalo for coming on, talking stories. I knew this would be a long episode because we're Portuguese, so
yeah, we win.
Definitely 2.5 hours long.
What are we at? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was late. That's my fault too. So I'm never late to anything.
No, that has nothing to do with how long we're talking.
Yeah, true.
This is always going to happen. It was destiny.
Yeah.
When you told me you were Portuguese on the phone and that you're friends with Maddie, I'm like, oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan's going to hate editing this. Sorry.
Too much
Oz
time.
is doing it. Never mind. Sorry, Oz.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
We'll get you some lunch after this.
Yeah.
But is there anything you want to share before we wrap up? If not, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at Kealoha's Counter on Instagram and YouTube. Shorts is pretty much all that where that's living. I'm growing that. Make your space and heart open to things that you wouldn't necessarily at face value think you could be. I see a lot of I just see so much nowadays of people just being so abrasive before they ever even interact with somebody about what they think about them or what they think about the type of people, or even just cold judgments off of like the overall look of somebody, you know? And I think we're only making this a crappier place for our kids to grow up and the generations below us if we keep doing that, you know? Somebody gotta break the cycle and try to be cool, you know? Somebody gotta try to like have a little more capacity and not flip out and be nuts. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's so little capacity of just like, of both sides of the spectrum, you know, like going into it hating or having an attitude with somebody, or going into a situation preparing to be offended, you know, like just have more capacity. I think you'll find that there's a lot more people out there that, while you don't necessarily agree on all the things they tell you have to agree on, eat dinner with them. Eat dinner. Break bread. Yep. Cook for someone you love.
Nice. I love that. Well, that's a great way to end the podcast. Mahalo,
yes, sir.
Kealoha,
Mahalo, my brother.
On the
Thank
Keep
you
It
for
Low
having
podcast.
me.
Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and remember to always keep it aloha.
Yay!
It's like this.
Yes, sir.
Right on.